Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Dickerson?
Here.
Commissioner Hernandez? Here. Commissioner Lopez? Commissioner White O'Neill? Chair Seifert?
Here. And at this time, can we have a motion for to approve the minutes on the September 19th meeting?
I move that we approve the minutes for the September 19th meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the minutes pass. At this time, we're going to have a public comment period. Each member of the audience may address the commission on any subject within the commission's business. Each member of the audience and each subject is limited to the discussion of 3 minutes or otherwise directed. Do we have anyone that would wish to speak? Please come up and state your name. You have 3 minutes. Not to exceed 15 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Mary Jacka, and I'm here today. You have approved a commercial center on the north end of town, Prescott Lane. And I don't know if you did a study on the traffic or have seen that at around 5 o'clock and probably before and after, or maybe all day, I'm not sure. 5 something is when I travel. People coming home from St. Louis, people coming home from Santa Barbara, that place is a mess, traffic-wise. You can't make a right turn if you've gone north. You can't make a right turn onto Prescott Lane at all because traffic is constant coming off the freeway from the north end. And I don't know, somebody in the paper said that it may create light traffic. I think it's already a bad case of traffic, dangerous traffic going through there already. How you're going to plan, excuse me, I'm out of breath, I was rushing in, how you're going to plan the traffic. I hope it's not going to be a mess like a Enos area, and you're already having to reconfigure the parking lot, the Costco parking lot, and probably that whole Enos section. So, you need to start preventing those situations and not just saying, we're going to do it and then have a traffic mess. But I know on Prescott Lane, you just have to try and get across into Prescott Lane already, off of Broadway, directly off the freeway. So thank you very much. Thank you.
We have addressed that in a previous meeting, and there is going to be some additional improvements today.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else that would like to speak about business other than tonight's business? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment period, and we'll move to the consent calendar. Commissioners? Let's see. This is Cox. Yes. Please. I thought I did. Could I have a motion for the consent calendar?
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, so we got Cox, 5. Okay, at this time, we're going to move on to item number 2, Central City Towing Office, conditional use permit at 1129 West Church Street. And we're going to hear from staff. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lauren Marcelia, and tonight I will present the Central City Towing conditional use permit at 1129 West Church Street. This is a permit to move a towing office into an existing building. Just for some context, this is an overview of Central City Towing's business operations in the city. They currently have 2 locations, one at 1525 Batavia Road and one at 609 Batavia Road. 609 Batavia Road houses their long-term storage, and 1525 will move to the project site if it's approved at 1129 West Church Street. This is just a close-up image of the site. So the site is just north of West Church Street and east of South Blosser Road. It's highlighted here in yellow. Just west of the site is a vacant lot. It's in the PDC2, Plan Development General Commercial. The site was recently approved to become a coin laundry facility. North of the site is also zone PDC2, and it's the location for Grimaldo's Auto Smog. And south of West Church Street is commercial manufacturing, where Limon Auto Electric is located. It's an auto electrical shop. And east of the site is a legal non-conforming single-family residential home, also in the commercial manufacturing zone. The site is about 0.2 acres, and it's also zoned commercial manufacturing. Here's just a few images of the existing site. So the Central City Towing is proposing to occupy this existing structure, and they'll have a storage structure in the rear as well. Here's another view from West Church Street looking northeast or northwest. And here's a view of the rear of the property. So this will be the proposed storage area for the vehicles that will be there short term. As you can see, there are existing 6-foot tall fences that will be removed and increased in height to slatted 8-foot tall fences to screen the storage that will be in the rear. Here's a site plan of what the applicant is proposing. They're proposing to keep the existing building as it is and rehabilitate this storage structure in the rear for storing their tow equipment. The building in the front is about 1,200 square feet, and that will be where their office and warehouse is. The storage structure in the rear is about 243 square feet, and it's where they'll store tie downs. And we've also added a condition in the permit that only equipment for the business will be stored there. Based on the square footage of the site, the municipal code requires 3 parking spaces. The applicant has provided 5 in the rear and proposes to stack about 15 vehicles in this storage area here. Customers and staff can access the project from West Church Street in this drive aisle here. And the tow vehicles will bring towed or operable vehicles from the alley here. There's a rolling gate along the rear of the property. The site currently is deficient in landscaping. There's only about 0.3% of it is landscaped when 15% is required for a commercial site. The applicant is proposing to exceed that requirement by 0.2%. They're proposing 1,311 square feet of landscaping. The applicant is also proposing to re-landscape the parkway and add landscaping along the frontage of the building. As I showed in the previous photos, the site is currently barren of landscaping, so staff believes that the project will enhance the aesthetics of the street. That concludes staff's presentation of this project. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission by motion approves conditional use permit U 2018-0005.
Thank you, Lauren. Do we have any questions?
I have a question.
Commissioner?
One of the conditions we have, or question, one of the conditions we have regarding light standards, I think one of the things we discussed at study session was that it needed to provide light, but not light that necessarily washed over adjoining the neighbors to the east. I see that this thing has a maximum overall height of 3 stories, roughly 30 feet. That seems pretty aggressive. So could you guys address that?
Max.
Sure, we can amend that condition. That is a typical commercial center light standard, so that may be a lot for this property. I don't know if I'm looking at Public Works, if there's a height for a light standard, that's more of a standard that's not for a commercial center. If we could do something like a 20-foot, if that exists, but we can.
Mr. Chair, for the light center for private sector, they're typically lower than the 35-foot standards that we have. So anything less than that is appropriate. We don't have a standard per se.
Okay, all right. So we could do something more, we just have to make sure that they're not going to get in the way of trucks going in and out, and that they're going to be tall enough and they're going to be able to clear them. So probably at least, I would say 18 maybe, but let's check with the applicant too to see what the layout is going to be so that we don't get in the way.
My concern is throughout the evening and night, because I think these are being brought in nighttime as they can be, is that you're going to end up flooding with lighting the property to the east of that, and so they're going to have a constant light on and off throughout the thing. Whereas, and I know it's quite a bit less than that, but if you could produce light that was not flooding the east over the fence, let's say,
Okay.
then at the very least you would keep that from occurring for the people living in that unit.
What we can do is add language to the light condition that talks about shielding the light so that the light remains on site as to not impact the neighboring residential use.
Okay.
So we can add that language to condition 15.
Okay, thank you very much.
Commissioner Hernandez? I have a question. Where did it go? Item number 8, trash enclosure. I don't see a trash enclosure on this plan, and I believe what you're talking about is for a large bin, and I'm not sure that this particular business is going to require a large bin. It seems like they're just going to be towing and having a small office. A lot of times those buildings will get by with just the regular bins that everyone else uses. Can we, if that's applicable, can we not have them build the trash enclosure or require it?
I just got a nod from David Bayes suggesting that that's okay.
Okay, yeah, because I know that not all businesses use them, so I don't want them to have to build it if they're not going to use it. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Are we going to hear from the applicant tonight? Do you have anything to add? Is he? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address for the record when you reach the microphone.
Jason Thomas Sahagan Sr.
Address.
Excuse me?
Your address?
Oh, I'm sorry. 604 East Mariposa Way.
Thank you. Do you have something to add to the presentation tonight, sir?
Well, as far as not a whole lot, I mean, you've addressed everything.
You're happy with the way everything looks on this?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
One quick question. You're satisfied about the lighting that we were just discussing? The alteration to the lighting?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You're good. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, can I just ask a question with regard to the lighting? Adrian Andrade, 211 East Fesler, and I represent Mr. Sahagan.
Yes, sir.
I wasn't quite sure when you talked about some kind of screening with regard to the neighbor as opposed to reducing the light pole to 18 feet, or which did you come down? Which side did you come down on?
So we've drafted some language that discusses shielding. So it doesn't impact the light standard at all, and you can really shield any type of light fixture. It's essentially a shroud that goes around the bulb so that you can't see the light from off-site, and it directs the light downward.
I think he was What was acceptable was the reducing the height of the light, if that's 18 feet, somebody said 18 feet. And along with that kind of shielding, I think it would be acceptable to him.
We're not, we wouldn't have confidence that an 18-foot high pole is not gonna send light to the neighboring residents. The shielding does accomplish that goal. Just because you have a lower standard, you won't see it from far away, but you might still be able to see it from the residents next door. So if the goal is to keep the light on this property, then a shield is a more effective use.
I think that's acceptable then, that kind of shield, as long as the shielding requirement is not overly expensive.
It's pretty typical, just a piece of metal that goes
Right.
around.
I've seen that, yeah. I've seen that. Thank you.
And while we're on the subject, David, is there a requirement? I don't see where these light standards that we're talking about on the plan, I don't see them on here. Is there, I assume they're going to be on his property?
Yes.
So do we have a regulation on people's property, how high they can, what regulates their light standards, or how does that work?
Well, Mr. Chair, the light standards that I deal with are particularly in the right-of-way,
Right.
which are the Cobra heads. So I'd like to defer to ComDev. Typically, it's as mentioned, was the so that the lights aren't intrusive to the neighbors. And I believe what Ms. Hossetter is expressing is the cover and the shield. That's the objective, is so that the neighbor.
I understand that. I didn't see them spotted, so my suggestion would be to put them on the east side facing west towards Blosser, rather than on the west side facing the residential, and that will help in your shielding.
Right.
And that item, if I may, can be addressed during the building plan process. We can address that and to accommodate those accordingly.
Yeah, I don't see a mark, so keep them on the other side of the property. I think you're going to be in good shape.
Make that
Yes.
part of the condition language to address it during the.
We certainly can.
So we feel that condition 15 will accomplish that, and we've added a sentence at the end of it. Typically, we do review this with the electrical plan as a part of a building permit process. That level of detail is not always on the land use plan, but we do always see that with the building permit. So condition number 15 requires all on-site lighting shall comply with the municipal code performance standards, and it requires a photometric plan as a part of the building permit prior to planning division approval. Parking lot standards shall have a max height of 30 feet. Then we've added a sentence to say the lighting plan shall include shielded lights as to not impact neighboring residences.
Is that acceptable to the applicant?
Yeah.
Yes.
Chair Seifert, I'm sorry, I just slipped for a moment, but so is your suggestion that perhaps it would be best for them to put the lighting on the east side, so it's basically pointing to the west?
Well, we have a wash and fluff and fold, and we have Blosser Road, and we have other businesses. And if we face the lights the other way, we have a residence, I believe.
Parking area, right?
So it would just make sense to park the lights on this side and
Right.
have them shine that direction.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Think we're all in agreement? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. Where's my stuff? Okay, I don't think I do. Cox Bungalows, no. Recommendations. I believe that was your closing statement. Thank you very much. I'm going to bring it back to the commission. Do I hear any comments or a motion?
Yeah, I think this is a good project. It's much better than it is. I'd like to tell the applicant that, we're glad that he's making the improvements to the property. It's going to look very nice. And I'd like to thank you for that. Thank you for bringing this project.
Commissioner Dickerson?
I'll second that. I think it's a good use for this piece of property, and I think that it'll enhance the property significantly and should not impact the area too detrimentally. So thank you very much. Appreciate it, sir.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the improvements myself. It's going to definitely, with the laundromat and this, it's definitely going to help that part of the neighborhood. So thank you and good luck to your new business. Do I hear a motion?
I move that we approve Central City Towing Office conditional use permit at 1129 West Church Street
I second. Oh,
as amended with the extra sentence.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Good luck. Congratulations.
Okay, at this time, we're going to move on to the Cox Bungalows General Plan Zoning Amendment and Plan Development Permit at 1141 West Cox Lane. Staff.
Hi, my name is Laura Marcelia. I'll also present the Cox Bungalows General Plan and Zoning Amendment Permit and also Plan Development Permit PD 2018-0009. So this project is in the R1 zone, single-family residential at the intersection of West Cox Lane and North Blosser Road. This is just a kind of a broad overview of where it is in the city. It's in the northwest portion of Santa Maria. Properties to the northeast and south of the project are also zoned R1. West of the site is zoned, or is actually in Santa Barbara County jurisdiction. It's agricultural land with Aquistapache farms located there. Here's a close-up of the project site. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing structures and propose 30 residential units with a community center. 29 of the units will be for senior housing for seniors age 62 and up, and there will be 1 unit on site for an on-site manager. All of the existing structures will be demolished. There's a 3,000 square foot residence and about 2,300 square feet of other structures for structures including garages, sheds, and 2 workers' quarters. There's a block wall that encloses the entire site, and most of those walls will be removed with the new projects. There's a gated opening here at the driveway along West Cox Lane and an emergency access gate at the rear of the property along North DeJoy. So this site is about 1.3 acres. The surrounding parcels are all about 0.16 acres, so this is kind of a unique site. Because of the applicant's proposal to turn the site from single-family residential to high-density residential, this requires a general plan amendment and zone change from low-density residential to high-density residential. Here's a view of the existing site along North Blosser Road. So this is looking about northwest. So the agricultural land is over here to the west, and the project site is over here to the east. There's a drainage channel that is adjacent to the project site, and the property begins at this block wall. So this block wall will remain and serve as a sound barrier for the traffic along North Blosser Road, and it will also serve as some screening from the agricultural activities to the west. Here's another view of a couple of the existing structures. As I mentioned before, there's a single-family residence. So this is looking northeast on the site. And here are some of the other structures on site. This is from West Cox Lane, so you can see the rolling gate here and part of the block wall that encloses the property. Here's another view of the project looking east on the site. So this is just off of West Cox Lane. The project site is over here to the north. And this just gives you an idea of how the property currently fits into the neighborhood context. So the applicant is proposing to try to incorporate the high-density residential project into the single-family residential neighborhood by proposing the units closer to the sidewalk, more in line with where the existing residences are. The applicant will also remove this block wall, and all of the units will be single stories, like most of the existing neighboring homes. Here's the site plan that the applicant is proposing. As I mentioned before, they're proposing 30 residential units, 29 senior residential units, and 1 for an on-site manager. The residents and guests will enter the site from West Cox Lane. The driveway access is here, and the parking will be in the center of the project. There's a community center just north of the parking lot. And by having the parking lot and the community center in the center of the project, it allows the residential units to be along the street frontages. That was intentional by the applicant to integrate the project into the neighborhood. There will also be daily on-site medical staff on site, and various walking paths and a community garden for residents. We do have the existing block wall along West Cox Lane will be removed, and the existing block wall along North DeJoy Street will be removed up to Unit 15. The site plan hasn't been updated since that conversation during study session, but there is a condition in the permit to move this block wall further back. There's also, the applicant has met the parking requirements. The city of Santa Maria requires 12 parking spaces based on the municipal code, and the applicant has provided 15. So any remaining parking spaces will be allocated towards guests. The multi-family residential projects require that the project site be 20% landscaped, and the applicant has proposed 36% landscaping. So the project will exceed that requirement. And in an effort to provide some buffering between the adjacent agricultural use and the senior residents over on this project site, the applicant has proposed some small trees in between these buildings to serve as like a buffer to prevent some wind tunneling from any dust and any other anything that the wind can carry over from the ag activities over to the residential use. We did receive one phone call from a neighbor who was concerned about parking in the project. Their concern was that there wouldn't be enough parking on site. And so I'm not sure if they're here and will want to comment on that. The applicant has proposed single-story cottage-style bungalows. They've proposed 3 different types of housing units to provide some interest and variation at the site. Each of the 3 building types will feature their own kind of color scheme. So building type A has more of a red color scheme as shown here. Each of the units will have their own patios in front of the units to promote social interaction and also reduce noise and lighting between the neighbors. Here's a look at building type B. This has more of a yellow color scheme. But again, it matches the architecture of building types A and C. This is C. It has more of a gray color scheme. All of the units will be single story to match the neighboring homes. And here's a variation on building type C with some dormers in the roof. The community center will also feature a cottage-style bungalow look to match the surrounding residential units. Staff did wants to propose a revision to condition number 6. This is after conversations with the applicant to better reflect what the plans show. So condition number 6 of the permit describes the landscape screening that is along the western boundary of the site. So now the condition will just reflects the fact that the plans will, or there will be trees planted between the buildings to prevent wind tunneling from the agricultural use to the west. And that concludes staff's presentation. Staff's recommendation is that the Planning Commission take the following actions. 1, by resolution, adopt a mitigated negative declaration for the proposed projects. 2, by resolution, recommend that the City Council approve General Plan Land Use Map Amendment and Zone Change GPZ 2018-0001. And 3, by motion, conditionally approve Plan Development Permit PD 2018-009, effective once City Council approves GPZ 2018-0001, and the project satisfies all required appeal periods.
Thank you for that presentation. Do we have any questions for staff?
Yes, I have two. Number 36, the city easements. Do you know how many will be dedicated to the city as part of this condition? If there are any.
I believe this is a condition from engineering, so I'm going to look to engineering to respond to that one.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hernandez, the likelihood of easements being dedicated to the city would be for utilities, water, sewer.
Do we know how many?
It'll be one.
Okay.
It'll be.
Okay, and the other question was about the wall. It's going to be moved, correct? Do we know how far it's going to be moved, the distance?
So the wall along DeJoy is going to be moved back. There's that green space in between units 14 and 15, kind of in that area.
Okay.
The wall along Blosser remains, and then the wall on Cox is being removed, and the buildings will be along Cox.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Dickerson? I don't have any questions at this time either. At this time, we will hear from the applicant.
Public comment.
Did she fill out a slip? Okay.
Good evening, Brian Schwartz, Urban Planning Concepts. We do have a brief PowerPoint presentation for you this evening. Before I begin, I'd like to introduce the applicant, Joe Hossel, our project architect here. Elsa Reeder from Carl Schneider Architecture is here tonight to answer questions about the architecture and other questions about the site. And with that, we can begin. So a few of these slides, I'm just going to run through pretty quickly because I think we've seen where the vicinity is in the northwest part of town. Project site's kind of labeled there. Next slide, please.
Sorry, 1 second. Our system's not playing nice right now. Maybe we can just advance the PDF. Yeah. It's the one with the page, the little tab to the right. Scroll down. There you go.
There we go. Yeah, that one's great, and that one just shows the existing residences and the buildings on site, and a little bit of the context of the neighborhood. Next slide, please. It's kind of a lot of information on one slide, but any information that wasn't pointed out in the staff presentation, just wanted to clarify about the parking. Because the trash enclosure needed to be expanded and to include different types of solid waste and expansion, including the enclosure and the trellis and everything, we ended up losing 1 parking space. So there is actually 14 parking spaces on the site plan as opposed to 15. But I did want to point out that we did do a calculation, and although it's not technically required, being able to calculate, there are a fair number of on-street parking spaces. On Cox, there's additional 8 spaces that could potentially be used on the project frontage, and then an additional 3 along DeJoy for additional guest parking or additional parking if necessary. Next slide, please. Just a little bit of background. We did go to the City Council for authorization to proceed to process this application, and that was back in August of last year. We did have a community meeting where we had city staff and the applicant team and the neighborhood that we sent notices to back in August. We started environmental review late last year, and then more recently we had a study session in front of your planning commission in July. One thing to note, the site plan that you see that was presented to the City Council has virtually remained unchanged, other than some of those revisions that staff talked about, such as removing the front wall and removing the walls on DeJoy and also on Cox. A couple other minor tweaks, but essentially it's the same project that we presented over a year ago. Next slide, please. And that's just a close-up of the site plan, and you can see it's virtually the same as what was previously shown to City Council. Next slide, please. This is just a colored elevation. This one's got the dormers, and these are facing the street, and that's to add in a little bit more of a traditional single-family type of look to those units. They've got nice entry features. They've got the wood siding. They've got that craftsman style architecture. Next slide. These are the floor plans. They're all one unit, 1 bedroom units, about 550 square feet. So they're really meant for just, either single or couples. Next slide, please. And this would be a view looking into the project from Cox Lane, and you'll see there's some very nice pedestrian connections from the public street into the project. Next slide, please. And this is the bird's eye view that shows the project and how it fits into the context of the neighborhood. This is a view from the parking lot, and it kind of gives you a sense of the architecture, the color schemes, and then there's one more, the next slide, that also kind of has that same perspective from the parking lot and when you enter the site. Next slide, please. And this is the one from DeJoy, and so this one actually doesn't show the wall that will be extended even further, and that would be extended to the other end of the yellow unit. So if that gives you a better sense of how far that would be. And that was...
the wall or the opening for the wall? The wall is going to be taken down.
The wall will be taken down,
okay.
excuse me.
Right.
Yeah, so the wall would be removed to the point of the far end of the yellow unit. And it just opens it up much more to the neighborhood. And I think it was actually a really good suggestion by staff to kind of incorporates it a little bit more into the neighborhood. And this slide just shows really the lack of senior housing and affordable housing in the northwest portion of the city. The red dot is where the project would be located, and the other dots are other projects, senior and affordable projects in the city, but there's quite a scarcity up in that area. Next slide, please. So in summary, it does provide well-needed, well-managed senior housing, implements the city's goals, constructed by Hustle Builders, who have been here in the city for a number of time, have a great reputation, and we think it is thoughtful in the design and the incorporation into the neighborhood. And we've read the staff report, the conditions of approval, and that concludes we don't have any comments on it. That concludes my presentation. I would like to bring up Joe Hustle real quick for a few comments on his experience with senior housing and within his family, and a couple of the amenities that he plans on providing.
Thank you, Commissioners. Joe Hustle with Hustle Builders. So the Cox Senior Gardens was inspired by some of the small one-story garden courts that we used to walk by on our way to school every morning. I grew up on Alvin Street, walked to St. Mary's School, and we would see these small little pocket communities of maybe 6 or 8 tiny little units around. You walk through a little arch and there's a little garden court. We had the ability to create more density on the project, but it just didn't fit in the neighborhood. And really that was, we worked with staff pretty early to say, hey, keep it one story, make sure it fits well. And so we came up with this garden court concept, and I think the amount of, one of the real great amenities is the amount of landscaping on the project. There's almost twice the amount of actual landscape area that's required. And that was pretty intentional, just to keep that feel. And even though we're creating a denser housing situation on that lot, I think it's mitigated pretty well with those standards. So, also a couple items that I did hear. There was mention of medical staff on site in the staff report, and we're going to have a manager on site, but this is not an assisted living facility. This is really just pure independent living, and so we will have full-time management, but there is no medical staff plan. It's not a licensed facility or anything like that. And then we do have we've talked about that wall on DeJoy being peeled back as far as we can get it. If we have that slide of that site plan up there, we did. I've talked with Elsa on staff of with our architect, and we stopped it at the beginning of. I guess we extended the opening just past that first sort of long building, and then we stopped it because what's happening is there's no interaction with that street on the back side of that second building. It's really just the back. And if we peel it back any further, it exposes the community garden out to basically the street side. And we did get a request early on that wall from the neighbor to the north, that wall stay as long as possible. So if we could, we would like to sort of define the end of that wall as at the beginning of that second building. Because what we've tried to do, like on Cox, is we have 4 front porches, and they all sort of open up to Cox. And so that wall's removed, and the project interacts with Cox well that way.
Can staff red dot where
please.
you're requesting that we take the wall to?
Actually, this is a good slide because the dark line at the top of the slide there extends where we would like to stop that wall. If we peel it back any further, it's just exposing the back side of that building, and then it's just going to expose the community garden basically near the driveway of the adjacent neighbor.
And Joe, you said this was primarily partially a request by the resident that's on the north side there?
Yeah, that was, I guess, as far as privacy goes, and this was, I have to say this was probably about a year ago that we provide as much privacy as possible. And then in subsequent meetings, we did get a request to peel that wall back and open the community to DeJoy. So we think that a good middle ground is to open it so that the unit that's sort of long ways on DeJoy is open there, and there's pedestrian access. But we'd like to stop it at the back of that second unit.
So currently, there is a wall that extends all the way across. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. All four sides are completely walled in except for a couple gates, currently. We would like to end it right where the dark line ends now.
Where the line is.
And not pull it back any further. Because it's really just the back side of those units anyway. There's no porch, there's no interaction there. You know, the porches on those units are towards the center of the project anyhow. And we'd like to be able to define that we're going to leave that wall where it's depicted on that slide, if we could.
I have a
Questions?
question for you for the trees. Number 6 states that you're going to include trees that grow between 10 and 20 feet. What will be the size that you actually put in?
So the trees that we put in, I mean, I guess pretty much they start out pretty small, you know. And if as far as a gallon size, it's not going to be like a 24-inch box or anything like that. It's probably more like a 15-gallon tree that's planted. So, I mean, we're certainly open for discussion on that because, you know, the west side of town, that is pretty open to the wind. So, I mean, if there's some level of maturity that you'd like to see on those trees, I mean, we'd be open to talking to you about that.
Well, I'd just like to reach the goal because it is all ag land.
Yeah.
And when the crops do turn over, there is empty land, and
Yeah.
we do hit wind around 2 o'clock on most days.
Right.
And so we want to reach the goal of shielding that from all that dust.
Yep.
So that was where my question was, if you know at what height would reach your goal
Right.
to shield the residences from that.
Yeah, so the 15-gallon trees probably start about 6 or 7 feet tall, maybe 8 feet tall. But if we went to a 24-inch box, we're probably at about the 10-foot mark when they're planted. So I think that's probably we weren't planning on doing that, but I think that's certainly reasonable, and we'd be very open to doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Are we just talking along Blosser?
Yes, just where the
Just in
ag-
between the buildings, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Commissioner Dickerson?
Commissioner Hernandez covered the tree question that I had as well, so I think that's reasonable, and I'm glad that you're open to that. Just as a quick comment, I'm very open to the extension of the wall to where you were discussing, and not any further from a couple of standpoints. I think it provides privacy for the residents of your facilities there, and allows them to have some privacy for this courtyard you're talking about. And then honestly, it also provides additional privacy for the resident that requested it. So I kind of look at that as probably a win-win. Other than that, I don't have any questions at this time or further comments.
I'll go with Commissioner Dickerson on that. I think that's probably the right place to end that wall.
Great.
It does look about right. And the trees, if we can get some wind blockage, I think that's a good idea. And thank you for coming to the study session and making sure all that stuff got on the plan.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay. I believe that's it for questions. Okay, I do have some written communications. So you're going to be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes for your presentation. And the first speaker will be Marilyn Garcia.
My name is Marilyn Garcia, and I'm located on 1715 North DeJoy. So I'm right behind the premises of this location where they want to build these units. One of my questions are that I was not aware, or I don't think any of the residents are aware that they want to open the back gate. And part of that back, where they want to open the back part on DeJoy Street, part of that belongs to my property. So it's not all, because it kind of like divides where the opening of the gate to go in right now. That way would be part of the the unit where they want to build. The other part of it belongs to our property when we bought the home. So it's not a full whole back gate that they're talking about. The other part that I'm concerned about is my property is up above, and so I can see everything from below because my fence is only 4 feet tall. And when we talked to them the last time, we asked them to check and see if they can raise my part of the property to 6 feet instead of 4 feet, so I don't have to be looking down at what's going on in the down in the bottom part. And that's a concern that we have.
You're talking about your wall? You'd like to have the wall?
Yeah, like let's say this is the wall.
Yeah,
Okay,
instead
right
of
here,
4
there's
feet,
a
you want to
gate,
make it 6.
and that gate you can come in to go to the property.
Would
But the
staff
rest
have
of
a
it is my
picture of
part
what
of
she's
my
talking about?
property. I
Lauren,
don't-
can we get a site plan?
The other part is my property, and then our driveway goes right up. So that's why we're a little bit higher than what they are
So
down
you're
here.
the property immediately north?
North DeJoy. We're the corner house on the top, which is, you can see everything what's going on in the bottom there because it's so low. I mean, it's 4 feet only. And when we bought the home, we bought this home because it was a quiet area. A lot of the seniors lived there, and it was pretty quiet. But then we started having people move into the neighborhood that own homes, and there's been many car accidents, and that's the reason why I had to plant trees on our part of the back wall, because there's been a lot of car accidents, and I reported. We asked for a bump. Some of the neighbors, we got together, asked for a bump to be put there because of the traffic, the way they drive the cars right around that same corner right in front of my house. I mean, every day we have kids almost getting running over.
Which property is yours?
Mine's on 1715 North DeJoy, so along Donovan, the back wall, that's where my house is.
Donovan.
Why don't you go back to the previous
Yes.
slide that you had?
So where are you at?
Excuse me?
Your home?
My home is on 1715 North DeJoy, so I
This is-
can't really... Right in the back, straight to the back.
Where the red dot is?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And then the fence that they're talking about opening, it goes down a little further. Half of that, most of it, well, part of it belongs to us. So that's,
Okay, so
that's the problem for us. I
Joe
don't
said
want-
he had spoken with you and you were okay with this about a
They
year
never
ago?
mentioned about opening the back gate. They mentioned about possibility of raising the walls, because that's the thing that the neighbors were complaining about. The walls are so low that they can see into our homes and we can see into their property.
Okay.
But they never got back to us on that. And then I have a real quick question too. There's people living in this home right now. There's 7 or 8 cars that are there day and night. They put out the garbage and no one's picking up the garbage. So I don't know what's going on. And we don't know who our neighbors are that's living in those homes. So I don't know what's going on in that property, but I'm really concerned. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for your comments. Thanks for coming. Okay, so that was Marilyn Garcia. Can we have Patty Green, please?
I get my turn. First of all, I want to mention on her property there, I live over on DeJoy, about where the word joy is on DeJoy,
Okay.
on that curve. Cars come down there quite regularly, and I've lived there for 40 years,
Probably.
and speeding. And many of them have missed that curve, and if that block wall is not there, they've missed the curve and gone up into the dirt up there and stuff, and that concerns me.
Okay.
They've also come across my driveway on the other end where they come too fast through there. So removing too much of that wall is a safety concern as far as I'm concerned. But my real reason is the density of it and the parking. I'm for more senior housing, for more housing in general, but for people that are 62 and older, most of them, I would assume, are still driving. You put 29 units in there. That means, saying each one only has one occupant, that's 29 cars. And if any of them are a couple, they might still be working at 62 years old, many people are still working and have 2 cars. So they're still, where are they going to park? As most of us who live in that area can tell you, there's no parking. If I have a visitor come, 9 times out of 10, they must park in my driveway because there's no street side parking. One of my neighbors has 7 cars, another has 9, another, and there's 3 or 4 families in all these homes, so that's part of the reason for all the cars. And going down West Cox, which I go out that way quite often when I leave, there is zero parking on the street for any more cars. And if they put that many, only 12 to 15 sites of parking within the units, I'm concerned. At my age, I don't want to, if I lived there, I would not want to be going shopping or coming in after dark from maybe going to the theater or something and having to come in at night, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and park down the street a block and a half away and walk to my residence by myself. So I just have a real concern with the whole quantity of parking spaces for the residents. Because it is going to impact all of us on the street. And if they leave that open on the back side, people with residents there, even though there's no access for a vehicle there, they can park on DJoy if they can find a parking space, which, like I say, in front of my house, there's not parking, but there's, they're going to park on that side and walk out the back way, which, I can't blame them for. So my real concern is the amount of parking for the units. Maybe cut out a couple of units and put more parking in. I don't know the answer, but I've said my piece.
Thank you very much for your comments, for being here tonight. Jose Vargas.
I'm Jose Vargas. I live at 1124 West Cox Lane. I was only one of the few neighbors that received this bulletin. They didn't receive one. She didn't. My uncle lives at 1132 West Cox Lane. He didn't receive one either. My neighbor at 1120 didn't receive one either, or they would have been here. Like she said, our concern is parking. I live right down West Cox Lane. There is no parking at all whatsoever. When it comes 5 o'clock, there's no parking there. During the day, the agriculture people that work in the fields park on Cox Lane. And then the other problem that we would have is curbside drop-off with our mailbox. If there's a car parked on the street, they won't deliver our mail. So we have to go to the post office and pick up our mail. So is that another problem that they're going to address as far as mail? I mean, I didn't hear anything about, is the mailboxes going to change? Are they going to put in those boxes with the keys in there? That's another problem that we have. So, and like she stated, 45 more cars. Where are 45 more cars going to go in our street?
Okay.
That's just our main issue. Is there any way to postpone this and have another hearing since our whole neighborhood wasn't notified on Cox Lane?
We'll discuss when you're done. Just continue with your
Oh,
presentation.
no, that was just
please.
it. My whole thing is the parking and the mail.
Okay, parking and mail.
Yeah, parking
Okay.
and mail.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay.
That will conclude the written communications. Would the applicant, that's another one. Would the applicant like to do a closing statement?
We had to do a little tag team on the responses. I guess in general, I understand the community's concerns. We've been in process now for over a year. We've had several meetings with public meetings, noticed meetings, out at the site. Early on, there's been we have tried to do outreach for this project, and so far, we have not received anything but positive feedback from the city. We've tried to work with the staff and have worked with the staff and have heard nothing until just now. So it's coming as a bit of a shock to us. With regards to the item of the parking, these are small, one-bedroom units. and they are for seniors. We are above the parking requirements for the city, and there is a good amount of on-street parking also for the project. With regards to the mail is going to be delivered to the community center and picked up in the community center by the residents. So, for the project. Anything else you want to add, Joe?
Height of the wall?
With regards to the wall, we are perfectly fine with keeping the wall on actually the entire project if that's what the neighborhood would like. It has been suggested by staff and recommended by staff.
I was actually addressing the height of the wall.
The height of the wall is 6 feet. So we were understanding that they want to actually continue the wall around the property, not necessarily the height of the wall. So if there's a height issue, then we can address that.
Okay.
So it sounded like DeJoy was problematic because people speeding and maybe not making the turn and crashing into that unit. And so if we left the wall there, just the entire length of North DeJoy, that would probably address their concern there. As far as the height of the wall, I am aware that on the east side of the project, there is an elevation difference, like the home to the east of our project up against the Joy. On their side of the fence, the wall is not a full 6 feet. Like, the elevation of their building pad is
Partial
higher.
retaining wall?
Yeah, it's like a retaining wall. So if there was a portion of that wall that we needed to make 6 feet from their perspective, and it might be 7 or 8 feet from ours because we're lower, but that's fine. That's fine.
Wait, is that true also? I believe the resident that was talking about her property on the north
Can you go back
end.
to the slide?
Yeah.
And so is the same thing true of that?
I'm not sure, but if one thing that is true, and we found this out, I don't know, probably 6 months ago, of that back on the site plan that's just black and white. There's a discrepancy in the property line that's pretty big. Can you guys see that dashed line that's
Is that where the wall is now?
No, the wall is the dark black line. The property line is 10 feet beyond that. And we have not made we haven't made any requests or conditions or even approached the neighbor about, hey, there's 10 feet of the property that it's actually ours. So we would request that the wall on DeJoy stay as is, because we're not making any requests to take over any of that property that runs down the middle of that whole driveway there, pretty much up against the house. We're not making any requests there at all. We're not asking for any remuneration. We're not asking for any taking. We're just asking to leave it as is and to not make an issue out of it. And for safety reasons, I hear them. I can, on an aerial, you can see the dark tire tracks get real close, and you can see that traffic pattern. I would rather just leave DeJoy with that existing little gate that's in there. I'd rather leave that wall alone, just not make an issue about where the property line's at, not make an issue about the height. The plate lines are really low on these homes. There is really no view over those fences, especially from the north. There's not. So, my family's been in senior care for a very long time, in all types, independent, assisted, memory care. And when you get into efficiency units like this, and it's a community of seniors, that is a totally different situation as far as who comes to visit, who lives by themselves, who has a vehicle, what condition their health is in. It's really quite different. And as much as we want to think that, there'll be people walking around and visit, the reality is that people don't visit, and they do live by themselves. And it's nice to have a quiet community. and that they actually don't drive. And they call Smooth for $2 each way to take them to church, to take them to the doctor. That is the reality. I mean, we have been in senior care for almost 20 years now. And this is not two people living together with two cars. It's just not. It's just not what happens. And your city code actually recognizes that. When we have a senior project and we have these units like this, there's one parking space required per 3 units, one for the manager, and one for on-site help. And we've exceeded those standards. So I would just ask that we did a senior project. It's in an incredibly impacted population. We exceeded all the standards already that the project, that the city requires. And I would just ask that we really stand behind how important it is for us to have quality senior housing all over the city. And this is the way to achieve it. And we're not asking for exceptions. We've exceeded your standards on it. So I would just ask that we really stand behind the standards here.
Question, if the wall remains where it is and it's not going to be moved, will the opening gate be an issue for the neighbor now, since you're not going to be moving the wall? With her open gate issue? So you mentioned that there was an issue with them opening the gate because they had not mentioned it to you.
Could you stand up to the microphone, please?
Yes.
You stated that there was an issue with them opening the back gate because they hadn't informed you.
Right.
Now that you know that they're not going to move the wall, leave it open, will that still be an issue, or does that issue now?
Well, what they told us, because I had brought that to their attention, they said they were going to close it up. They were just going to build it up and close it. There wouldn't be no entering in and out of there through that area.
Okay, thank you.
So I do believe that we need an access. There's an existing gate there now, and we would propose not to even move that, just to leave that there. We're going to put a new gate there because it's just an old wood one now. We'll put a new gate in the exact same spot that the existing gate's in, and we won't make any modification to the existing state of that wall.
And how often do you use that gate, or what would that gate be used for?
Well, right now it's not used, but there's not 30 units there now, and I.
That's where they pick up the garbage. To that gate, that's where they put the garbage up. And that's where the garbage is down.
Okay. So there's really limited access to it right now, and I wouldn't cut that off. I would just leave it as is. And we have a totally different garbage situation. We're going to have a trash enclosure garbage truck that comes at regular intervals during the week from Cox, but I just wouldn't. I wouldn't want to not have a gate in that back wall. I would just leave it alone.
So, Ryan, was this the staff's idea about the wall? I mean, we're getting into what you guys required, correct?
It's a recommendation, and essentially if the commission and the community and the applicant would prefer to leave that alone, we would just recommend deleting condition number 5, and that would accomplish that. And we can just leave it alone.
Thank you.
That was a special condition anyway for this. If we just delete it, we would be okay with that.
Okay. Do you have anything further to add, Joe?
No, sir.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
This time I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it. No, I'm going to bring it back to the commission. Thank you. Comments?
Closing statement.
Excuse me, can I say one
Is this
thing?
part of the closing statement, or what do we got going on?
I just want to mention that in regards to the wall.
I need your name and your address, and I'll
Sure.
open it back up for you.
Okay, I'm with the applicant.
She's the
I'm with
architect, right?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes,
Okay.
so-
So I just wanted to explain that Along the wall, right there next to Unit 12 along the back, fire has required that we provide a gate there for fire emergency access. So along with leaving the gate that exists now, we will be required to add one gate down that wall, just so you know.
A man gate, a drive gate, what are we talking?
A man gate for fire department access, probably 4 feet in width.
Locked?
Absolutely.
And can I ask you, are you required to put a second gate up, or could you modify the current existing gate to end up with only one gate, but
It has to do with the distance from where the fire truck can park. So because the fire truck can only come along that curve on North DeJoy, in order for me to get a fire hose down to, say, Unit 9, I have to have the gate where it's at in order to meet that 150-foot threshold for a fire hose.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
But I guess that's not shown on the,
No.
I mean, I don't see that on the plans.
Well, the plans don't reflect what we're going to be building now anyway.
Yeah.
The fire access is on.
Can you, Lauren, put the little red dot up there? Is that the fire access next to number 12? Yes. So it's right there.
I thought that was the gate we were talking about. Where's the gate we're talking about now?
The existing gate.
The existing gate.
The existing gate is closer down towards Unit 16 in the wall section that we're removing, or that we were proposing to be removed. And so now that gate that's there will remain, the wall will remain, and an additional gate will have to be put in.
I see. So it's basically the wall that's disappeared. That's where the gate is. Okay.
Do you know the height of the wall right now?
As far as we know, from our side, it's 6 feet. I have not been on the adjacent side, and if it is a retaining wall and it looks like 4 feet from their side, I can't verify that at the time. But on our side, it's a 6-foot tall wall.
Is there something we could do to shield part of that, or are we limited to 6-foot tall walls, I believe, in residence? Ryan?
The Planning Commission has the ability to approve a taller wall. We've seen 8 feet done before, between 6 and 8. The Planning Commission can go, I believe it is up to 12 feet. I'm looking at it. Oh, there's no limit.
No limit. So could we possibly do a site visit and check out this Patty Green's concern that she's only got a 4-foot wall?
It's not Patty Green, it's this one.
Jose? No? Well, you took it. Okay. Marilyn Garcia? Yes. So could we go to Marilyn Garcia's house and make sure that we have the height that she's requiring there? 4 foot is awful small.
Well, I think Joe mentioned that he would be willing to go to 6 feet from the neighbor's side, so that would be fine. But I don't think we would want to go much more than 6 feet from her side. It would make ours feel like it was in a hole.
Yes, I agree with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's where I was going. Okay. Is the applicant completed now?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question for staff.
Okay, go ahead.
Was staff aware of this issue with the mail not stopping if there's a car parked in front of it? And is there a way to stripe that curb red during certain hours to avoid that issue with the mail?
Good call.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hernandez, there is an opportunity to, if usually the way these items are presented is the post office presents those to the city, the traffic committee, and the traffic committee presents the item for the request for a no stopping zone. We haven't heard any requests. If the neighbors request that of the Postal Service, then they can present that request to us.
It's got to come from the Postmaster General, correct?
Yes.
They're the ones that are in charge of everything mail.
Correct.
Yes. So that is an opportunity for you guys.
I mean, I've already gone to the post office and they said that there's nothing they can do. Cars can park there whether they want to or
Great. Do we have any other comments?
No.
Commissioner Dickerson?
Oh, final comment.
Yeah, it's back to us, I believe, at this time. So hearing's closed, and it's back to us.
Okay. Well, I think all the issues that were presented today were addressed as much as the builder was able to address them. This is a good infill project. We do need more senior housing, and we have to balance that against the impositions that are made on that part of town. And I believe that senior housing, because it is very needed, outweighs the burdens that we do impose on the city, the parking, etc. Further, I believe that the applicant has shown in the various meetings, at study session as well, you know, they went above the parking requirements, right? We can only impose so many requirements, and then they went above and beyond that. They're also discussed, you know, a van pool during the study session. I believe that as the city grows, we just have to get used to parking being limited. And in Santa Maria, we're just used to having a limited amount of parking. And that's just going to change where we are at 110,000 residents. We're just going to have to learn to drive less or Uber or other things. And unfortunately, that's just the way the future is going. So I understand the residents have an issue with parking. However, the applicant has met those requirements and has actually been above. I think this is a great infill project, and I think it meets the need that we have for housing in the city.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Dickerson?
I'd like to mirror what Commissioner Hernandez said and then add some things. I think with not taking a portion of the wall out on the lines to Joy, you're going to keep additional people, and I know that it was said that there was possibly 3 additional spaces there, but I do understand that the residents say there really aren't any additional spaces, and we really don't count those spaces anyway, but that would alleviate any probability that someone is going to be moving over into DeJoy to use their parking. The West Cox lane already sounds like it's impacted tremendously as well, and I think that the new residents in the facility will probably learn that there really isn't any parking out there, and so I think that they will stay within the new project. As Commissioner Hernandez said, the builder, Parcel Builders, I think has done everything that you could reasonably ask to modify and to address some of these issues, from raising walls to not tearing some walls down. And then honestly, to not asking for that additional 10 feet that the property line actually indicates. They were just leaving that alone, so you get 10 extra feet of land that probably you shouldn't be getting. So from that standpoint, just addressing the project overall, and I'll say more or less the same thing I said in the study session, and that's that we need senior housing. This is a really good project. It could have been even more dense, but the builder chose to not maximize their revenue, but instead to make it a better project for the neighborhood as well as their own residents. And so, from that standpoint, I do support this project. It's really good. I mean, as far as these type of projects go, as an infill, a lot of thought went into it and a lot of care. Now, there may be some nuances that need to be tweaked, and that's why we're here. But overall, you're looking at a 99% project with a 1% of some minor fixes that need to be made. Just slightly addressing the mailbox issue in the post office, that's not us. I mean,
I know it's not,
yeah.
accuse more problems for our neighbor.
Well, but that really shouldn't cause any more problems, because once again, you're already saying that people are parking there anyway. I mean, it's not like two cars are going to park, stacked one on top of the other one in front of your mailbox. You've already got people parking in front of your mailbox, so.
No, not right now. Right now, we're okay. Sometimes it'll happen, but once you move all those 30 units, that's going to be 30 cars. Let's be realistic. It's not going to be 10 cars. Let's be realistic here.
Well, I think the calculations generally show that for senior living, it will be that, and they've provided slightly more parking than's required of them by the regulations. So we can't really deny that from that standpoint. They've provided more than for this body. So once again, I would support this project.
Thank you, Commissioner. I tend to agree with both the commissioners and what they've said. I understand that as we grow in a city, that does create problems, and we're here. There's nothing that we can do to mitigate the traffic problems and the parking problems with these projects. We can't make the streets bigger. We can't change the streets, but we have these properties that come to us, and they're meeting all of our requirements that the city has put down, and they've given us these parameters that they say, okay, if the people do this, they can continue. If they do this, they can continue. In this case, this applicant has done everything for over a year and met all those requirements, exceeded those requirements. And I'd love to say that I could make your street bigger or I could do something about your mailbox, but I really can't. What we're here tonight to look at is an applicant that's come through this process that the city has laid out. He's exceeded all of the parameters that the city has laid out for him. He's tried to really work hard with the neighborhood, even showing that tonight by the wall, the height, the addressing these issues. Excuse me. We're very much in need of senior housing, and I think that the people driving there will be less than I believe you think. I do tend to believe on a 500 square foot unit, you're not going to get a lot of traffic as far as you're concerned. So I'm in favor of this project. I think they've done a nice job of putting it out. I think they've worked with staff well. I think they've worked with the community as best as they can. And I think it's a good project. So with that, we need it's a resolution. So do we have yes, the first one's a resolution. So we need a motion?
No, we need a resolution. So I'll move by resolution number 2754 that we adopt a mitigated negative declaration for the Cox Bungalow General Plan Zoning Amendment and Plan Development Permit at 1141 West Cox Lane.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
And roll call, please.
Commissioner Dickerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Hernandez?
Aye.
Chair Seifert?
Aye. Number 2.
I move by resolution number 2755 that we recommend that the City Council approve general plan land use map amendment and zone change GPZ 2018-0001.
Hear a second?
Second.
A roll call, please.
Commissioner Dickerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Hernandez?
Aye.
Chair Seifert?
Aye.
And finally, I move by motion the conditionally approved plan development permit PD 2018-0009 effective once City Council approves GPZ 2018-0001 and the project satisfies all required appeal periods with modifications as stated to number 5 and the discussion of the trees.
Nice. Do I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. You guys are good to go. Do you need a break? We're going to take a 5-minute break. Okay, at this time, we're going to resume our meeting. And we're going to move to item number 4, the Angela Warehouse conditional use permit at 1020 and 1030 West Chapel Street. Staff, please.
Good evening. My name is Carol Duzenhenny. I'm assistant planner presenting the project for Angela's Warehouse. This is a rerun of a conditional use permit which expired in September of 2017. Yes. Yes, I can. Okay. The project is north of West Main Street and east of North Russell Avenue, fronting West Chapel Street. The site is in a commercial manufacturing district. It is adjacent to both a planned development general commercial district right here along West Main Street and a high-density residential district here with apartments. This is a conditional use permit to allow a mixed-use project on the half-acre site. There are currently 2 existing non-conforming residences on the half-acre site here, and one accessory structure, here, and a garage that is no longer here. It was removed sometime earlier this year. Across the street are 2 additional single-family residences, also non-conforming in the CM zone. The other surrounding uses are automotive service to the west, high-density residential to the east, and south are commercial fronting West Main. The applicant, Mr. Naimi, is proposing to develop the site as a mixed-use project with the addition of a 4,000 square foot warehouse building at the rear of the property. This would also legalize the non-conforming residences. So this is looking south at the site from West Chapel Street. So these are the residences, and here's the garage and the accessory building. So this was the site as the Planning Commission first saw it in the permitting process back in 2016. This garage is no longer there. So this is the site as it is earlier this year. So this was where the garage was. This is the site of the proposed parking lot as part of this project. So right here is the location of the proposed warehouse. This is in the rear of the site, so it's south of the site, and here is some incomplete concrete forming for the parking lot. In addition to the new warehouse, the applicant is proposing new landscaping across the frontage and landscaping around the east side and rear of the warehouse. Landscaping and parking requirements have been met with this project. The proposed warehouse is 26 feet tall and is 4,050 square feet. It consists of asphalt shingle roofing and 2 bay doors and a man door right here. The concrete block walls with colored layers are also an added feature. So with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission, by motion, approve the conditional use permit U 2018-0014. Staff is available for any questions.
Do you have questions?
I do.
Commissioner Dickerson.
It's my understanding that they were red tagged back in February. Is that right?
That's correct.
And what were the issues at that time?
That was for unpermitted construction.
Okay, there was walls, that sort of thing. I see. And then while they were red tagged, they stripped the garage also.
Correct.
So in essence, they doubled down on their violations by moving forward with additional problems.
Essentially, yes.
Okay. Okay. Those are my 2 initial questions. Thanks.
Commissioner Hernandez.
Yes, what was the result of the red tag? How did they address it, and how long did it take them?
So that was, first additionally, it was a halt in construction, and then they were required to come in for remediation to permit that illegal construction. So they worked with planning staff to come to a solution for this.
So it did get, how long did it take to get remedied, I guess, to work with the staff?
They came in mid-July, I believe.
Thank you.
Is all the permitting is all the permitting done now? All of the violations, the zone enforcement, is everybody out of the picture?
So this permit is to help clear up some of that too. There's non-conforming residences, so this mixed-use project would allow residential on the property as well as a warehouse for some type of light warehouse use in the back and the parking and permit all of that as a part of this.
So this will clear everything up?
That's right, yes, including follow-up building permits for.
Because the forms that were there, they were.
That was for the
that-
parking area that they
Which is
started to put in.
unpermitted and, okay, so, gotcha. Any other questions for staff? Okay. At this time, we would like to hear from the applicant. Is the applicant present? Please come to the microphone, state your name and your address.
Yeah, my name is Angelo Naimi, and my address is 4386 Westminster Lane in Santa Maria. And in regards to Robert's question in regards to the permit, the automotive building has old cars that actually fell over and knocked the fence down. And so when I went to fix it, I got tagged regarding that. So I went and called the city the next day, and I pulled the permit 3 days later. So I went from a fence to a block retaining wall. So then that didn't reoccur or have an issue all the way. If you look at the diagram right there, it's just like an L shape. And the reason I was doing that is I ended up inheriting 2 times 2 different sets of squatters that just went in the back and broke the fence. And you know, excuse my language, they're actually having, there's kids on the property that live there, and I found them nude. And that's the reason why I knocked down the garage. And I actually asked if I could, and I didn't know that it required the permit when I went there, because I kept getting people, I had Officer Santiago show up to the site, I want to say at least 3 or 4 occasions. That, and then if you notice on the frontage of the street right there, I own the house except for the one across the street, so I own all the residential there except for that one. But for the reason why I'm proposing this project and the parking, I'm only required to have 4 parking spots. There's 13. It's to alleviate, and I talked to the automotive people, they double park a lot, and so I'm actually granting them each a parking spot for them. So then there's easier access to the project to make it easier on the tenants and you know, everybody else there. So, and I mean that's pretty much it in regards to you know, the project. I'm just trying to, in a sense, clean up the area. Actually, my dad lives on the house in the front, so he always informs me of having the issue with the parking. That's the reason why I wasn't needing a permit to pour. So I poured half of it, and then, like I said, I ended up just wanting to wait to make sure that, you know, we had everything else taken care of.
Questions? Commissioner Dickerson?
What type of are you going to be renting the warehouse space out, or what are you going to be doing?
Yeah, so it's funny. The gentleman who I purchased the home from, he actually on Russell, if you look almost up that street to the left, it's right next door to Jerry's Plumbing. He actually asked me if he could do a, I know the family personally, if he could, you know, stay in there and rent. He has a ice cream shop, so he needs storage, just storage in regards to that. So that's all we're, you know, proposing right now.
Not non-refrigerated storage he needs?
Yeah, exactly.
I see. Can I ask you, did you get the solar permitted that you have on the houses?
Yes, they are. They are permitted.
Okay.
It's through Solar City.
I see. Okay, that's it for me.
Commissioner Dickerson? Hernandez?
No question.
Thank you very much.
Oh, no problem. Thank you, guys.
Okay, this is item number 4. Okay, I don't see any written communication, so I'll bring it back to the commission. Comments?
I'll comment. There are times where we get things that we didn't have anything to do with that are brought forward in front of us, and we scratch our heads going, geez, why was that okayed, X many years back? And I look at this and I see it seems like, frankly, it just seems like something that's kind of Frankenstein together, that if not us, somebody down the road is going to regret that you have these two houses in front of a commercial warehouse with parking on one side versus the other. And so I have serious reservations about this project. If they come to us and wanted to scrape the two houses and just redo the whole thing, I would be much more comfortable. But this kind of hodgepodge, this is exactly the type of thing that down the road somebody's going to want to clean up and we're going to be stuck with. So for me, I cannot support this project.
Commissioner Hernandez?
I agree with Commissioner Dickerson. I think that this was a reactive effort by the city to address the issues that were brought on by the applicant, and you're asking us to make a decision based on things that I believe were not methodically thought through, and for that reason, I cannot support the project.
Thank you. I'm another different point of view on this. The mixed use is always a complicated issue. Some people love it, some people hate it. It's a difficult mix. In this particular instance, I think that it would do what the city is wanting to do, is getting us cleaned up in an area, getting it permitted, getting it up to par, more than it's such a mess right now. So I would be in favor of this project to get it up to the code, to clean it up. I know mixed use it was very hot 10 years ago, and now it's not. So I still think that I don't have a real issue with this project. So with that, a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to deny the conditional use permit at 1020 and 1030 West Chapel Street.
Do I hear a second?
Before we go down that path, I just want to check with council. Do we need to come back with new findings? Denial, if the commission chooses to deny the project, we need to come back with findings.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, staff, I agree. I believe that since we didn't have a resolution of denial
Correct.
Prepared, that it's probably best to continue the hearing. Go ahead and make the motion, but continue to direct staff to come back with a resolution with findings to adopt at the next meeting.
I so move.
And we can look at a date certain of November 21st and do that as our next hearing and have this item before you with a new resolution and findings for your consideration.
So I'm voting to continue it. What are we voting on right now?
Ryan, are you recommending we just continue the whole thing for decision, or I was thinking they could go ahead and vote to deny the project, but come back with a resolution? I will leave it up to your practice, what you're most comfortable with. Either way is fine.
That's fine. Whatever's legal.
That's what I thought I was moving is for the denial, but coming back for the actual resolution.
Sure.
So I'm confused.
Moving to deny.
The motion is to deny the project, but to continue the matter to the
November 21st
hearing to have a resolution come back with findings for adoption by the commission.
So I would be a nay
Yes.
and a yay?
Yes. If you are in favor of the project, you would vote no on this.
So have we voted? You guys voted?
You have to do a motion, or you have to,
You did a motion, you did a second.
right, so
Have we voted?
it's yeah.
All
All
in
those in
favor?
favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye.
Motion carries.
The motion carries.
There you go.
Do you understand what happened?
I think so. We're moving it to see if, I think we're denying it, correct? Yeah, so on the next, no, I got it. I was just trying to figure out what you guys were going on there, but I think I got it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to the next order of business. Number 5, Santa Maria Discount Center conditional use permit at 1637 South Broadway. Staff.
My name is Carol Zizanani, and I will also be presenting the project for Santa Maria Discount Center at 1637 South Broadway. The project is located along South Broadway, just south of Battles Road, in the Old Town Commercial Center, Old Town Shops Commercial Center. So it's right in here. The site was formerly occupied by Beverly's Fabrics and Crafts. This is a conditional use permit to allow a multi-tenant discount mall to locate within a 15,000 square foot commercial building. The building is proposed to remain. The site and the parcels to the north, east, and south surrounding area are in a planned development general commercial district, and the parcels to the west are high-density residential. This is a view of the existing building. It was renovated in 2004, so it's relatively new. The site has existing landscaping and the planters, as you can see. Seen here is more of the commercial center looking north. And this is the throughway from Broadway along New Love Drive to the residential units behind it. So this is a view of the site from South Broadway. Over here is Crumbles Cafe. And here is a site plan showing the Old Town Shops Commercial Center. The project is in yellow here. This is an existing building, and it meets the landscape and parking requirements. While the applicant is proposing mostly interior tenant improvements, staff will be asking for exterior improvements as well. The applicant proposes to section off merchant booths within the building. There is one existing manager's office and 16 booths for tenants, stalls that are partitioned off with 6-foot high partition walls there. 8 to 10 foot wide tile aisles are also featured here, and they're marked in blue. So staff has received some comments about the use of the space as a discount mall. In response, we have looked at the land use requirements, and the project complies with the general commercial zoning regulations. Conditions for performance standards have been incorporated to the conditional use permit, including provisions for improved lighting, additional trees, and graffiti abatement. In addition, staff has received letters and a petition regarding the project. A letter, excuse me, I lost my spot here. A letter from Mr. Abdul Halim Kasim and a petition with 50 signatures are in support of the project. 2 letters from Mr. Douglas Pinkleton and Mr. Richard Brown are in opposition to the project. The letter in support of the project states that this is the right business for the area and that the project will result in crime reduction benefiting the surrounding businesses. 2 letters express concern that the project is not the highest and best use of the space. There are additional concerns that the project will deter any major or national tenants from locating in the Old Town Shops Commercial Center. In response to these concerns, staff has incorporated specific performance standards into the permit for this project. The project complies with the general commercial zoning district, and the city has approved other discount malls through discretionary permits in the past. So with that, staff recommends the Planning Commission, by motion, approve conditional use permit U 2018-0012. Staff is available for questions.
Thank you. Do we have questions for staff?
No.
Do we have the applicant present, and would you like to make a statement?
The petition is available for the commission, should they want to see it.
Good evening. My name is Hassan Mashad.
Hang on a sec. Please proceed.
So the address is 1637 South Broadway. My name is Hassan Mashad. I am one of the petitioners for the Santa Maria Discount Center. As you can see, this is a building where the Santa Maria Discount Center will be at. I will be doing a presentation. Can we move on to the next slide? Currently on the shopping center, there's 2 buildings that are vacant. One of them is Betsy Fabric that has been vacant for over 17 months. The second building is Beverly's Fabric that also has been vacant for the past 7 months. Let's go to the next one. For some reason, the next one tends to take longer. So this is the current condition of the building. As you can see there in these images, there's some parking lanes that are not visible, not painted, not stripped. There's also some signs that are on the building that are rusted and unreadable. There's some lighting that are broken, non-working, and outdated. We have some landscaping that the trees has been pulled out. There's some parking spot bricks that's been broken. The back and side of the building is tagged just with different colors, makes it really unprofessional looking. We have some landscaping structure that are hazard. As you can see in the bottom picture, there's a metal piece. Kids tend to be running around there, especially it's a neighborhood. We have some landscaping on the right side where we have dead weeds, landscaping not well maintained off the structure onto the roads. Let's move on to the next one. So to the current condition, we have noticed and seen many trailers, trucks, and many homeless people, which makes it unsafe for the community. These are some pictures that we have took that, as you can see, trailers, trucks just park overnight and daytime. Let's go to the next one. So this is the improvement that will be done with this project. The first, we will be doing restriping the parking lanes. We will be repainting the whole back and side of the building, adding a minimum 8-foot down graffiti paint. The front and back lighting will be repairing and adding extra lights. We will be adding camera system all around the building because we have noticed that there's many criminal activities down there, and the camera system currently are not working. For example, last week I was there. I had someone broke into my car, turned it on, and left, and went all the way to Maine and crashed it. So we tend to see too many criminal activities. At the moment we tried to do the camera system, there was no camera system. Camera system, and the lighting was too dark. So the police report can even be well done. We will be also adding 10 to 15 trees in the landscaping. We will be also installing water sprinklers to this landscaping. All landscaping will be maintained with healthy growing plant material free from weeds. Let's move on to the next. So many people believe that this is like a discount mall center or like a flea market, which in fact it's not. This is a Santa Maria Discount Center that 60% of it is used by the owner, us. 30% of it is only rentable. Then the other 5% is used for office storage. The other 5% is for bathroom and resting area. That I believe there was shown 16 tenants, but the rent ones are only 5 of them. The rest all belong to the owners. Let's move on to the next one. So we will be having floor managers on duty. 2 floor managers will be available during business hours and off. They will make sure to maintain the entire site to be neat and attractive manner and adhere to the requirement of the Santa Maria municipal codes. They will make sure all landscaping is well maintained. Floor manager is expected to inspect all tenants to be selling what's applied on their lease only. Floor manager is expected to keep the building conflict-free. If any concerns between tenants must be resolved with the floor manager and landlord. We also have a concern with the management that's on the old-time shops, because we are paying about $1,700, just us, Beverly's Fabric, and we noticed that it's not well maintained. We also noticed that PP Association have a security person on nighttime doing security, and we don't. So we're negotiating with the landlord to see what we can do about it, improving it, or do something about it. We also have some We also have some rules. There shall no outdoor display merchandise shall be. Storage cannot exceed the 511 wall dividers. No food, no heating, and no food producing appliance allowed in the Santa Maria Discount Center. All tenants must respect all other tenants by not carrying loud music. All tenants need to make their space rented area cleaned. So this is a map of the Santa Maria. Currently, we have 3 Supermall discount centers in Santa Maria. One of them is La Fiesta Supermall. That's located on Broadway and Donovan. That was previously opened 5 years ago. The other one is Broadway Discount Center. That's on Broadway and Alvin. That has been over 20 years. The third one is Santa Maria Discount Mall. That's on Blosser in Maine. That recently just shut down on September 30. Before we started this project, our main thing was to be a discount store, fully 100%. When we heard the news that the Santa Maria Discount Mall on Blosser is shutting down, we had some tenants talking to us, saying if we're able to rent them. That's how we changed the name from Santa Maria Discount Center to Santa Maria Discount, from Santa Maria Discount Store to Santa Maria Discount Center. And as you can see on the map, the 3 reds are the current location of the discount malls, and the green one is ours, which is a Santa Maria Discount Center, and is too far from the rest. We have some comments from the neighborhood. One of them said, wow, we really need one in this area. I grew up on the north side of town and always loved going there. I am excited for this. Another comment we had was, you guys need to open already for the safety of our kids. There is a lot of creepy people walking around there, especially with the poor light there is. Third comment we had said, try to get rid of the homeless people. They're always screaming every morning and nighttime. The fourth one we had was, this will be a really great project. It will help the shopping center look. So this is regarding Old Time. It has came to our attention that Old Time Shops had some concern. Their concerns was that certain product being sold or services are similar to their tenants, which in fact is not true. We have provided to the city of Santa Maria that there is no any kind of food allowed and there is no gym. However, the tenants of all shops have talked and agreed and that there isn't or will be any concern. So as you can see in that diagram, there's all-time shop tenants. One of them is Yummy Donuts, which is a food. Second one is El Rincón Oaxaqueño, which is a Mexican restaurant, also food. The third one is Page Plus Cell, which I am the owner of it, a cell phone store. The fourth one is Camps, a gym. So with the 2 of the tenants are food, we do not have any kind of foods in the Santa Maria Discount Center, so it will not affect them at all. The cell phone store, I am the owner of it, and I do not see anything but benefits. The gym, nothing's going to affect it, only benefits. So all in all Town Shop tenants are in favor of this discount center project due to the fact it will benefit the shopping center. Okay, let's go to the next one. So we went ahead and did a survey around the shopping center and neighborhood. And in fact, Old Town Shop's tenants, all 4 of them, signed this letter stating that it will benefit, not cause any concerns or conflict. So all the business near the building has signed the survey that they are in favor in the Santa Maria Discount Center. The survey had over 30 to 40 nearly. The shopping center signed it. The survey had over 17 business in favor of Santa Maria Discount Center. As you can see, there's mostly big brands, Smart & Final, La Favorita, 2 laundries that's in there, PP and Association, Page Plus Cell, Yummy Donuts, El Rincon Oaxaqueño, the Camp Gym, the laundry, and across the street also. And then also I had another concern. I also have a hard copy of the signatures. If you guys need them, I can provide that to you guys. So, regarding Old Time Shop's concern, I believe as a tenant of Old Time Shop that my landlord should be concerned about the proposed tenant for the Betsy's Fabric. Their product and services are similar to our. Family Dollar sells phones, electronics, and makes payment. So that's one concern. Second concern I had, Family Dollar sells grocery items that are similar to Smart & Final, similar to La Favorita Market, similar to another Mexican market that we have across the street. It's called Sumesa. So I think Family Dollar Shop is actually not the right one, but this is just a concern. We, as well as we are starting to negotiate with Old Town Shop landlord in improving the maintenance and adding securities, someone to be a security overnight, like PP and Association. I recently had my cell phone store about, I want to say 6 months ago, someone break into my water machine. And also a year ago, we had someone break into the restaurant in Rincon Oaxaqueño, and they actually went inside. So I think if we were paying $7,000 a month for maintenance, I think we need to add a security that can drive by around 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 5 o'clock. And we need to improve the whole shopping center maintenance. That should be it.
Thank you. Do you have questions? We have quite a few written communications, limited to 3 minutes. We're going to go with Jorge Tavilla and Janet Kang following. Please step up, state your name and your address.
Hi, my name is Jorge Tobilla, and I live on 624 Cypress, but I used to live in that area where the disco mall is going to be, or might be. And I still have family there, living there, and sometimes it's hard to go across the town and find a shopping center, you know. And I think it will be beneficial for the businesses and the small businesses as well, because they're going to pay taxes. They will help our community to have cleaner streets, or I don't know, maybe try to remove the homeless people, all the kind of stuff, like the bad stuff that is in that area. I also think that sorry, I kind of forgot what I was gonna say, but that's pretty much it.
Thank you. Right, Janet, followed by Eric Guzman.
Hello, my name is Janet Kang, 1879 Olive Drive. So we are one of the prospective tenants for the shopping center. We've had a discount, or had a business at the discount mall, the original one, for over 25 years. We have a big customer base, and we've recently had to shut down because the owner of the building was trying to sell. So everyone had to move out, and then a lot of us don't have anywhere to go. So when we heard about this new project, we were really excited. And like a lot of us here are just waiting for this to happen. So I don't see how this can negatively impact the surrounding businesses either, because I think we'll bring a lot of foot traffic to the other businesses. So that's about all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Eric Guzman, followed by Santiago.
Good evening.
I live in 321 West New Love. My name is Ari Guzman. Well, when I heard about this discount center opening, it actually got me to the point where I thought that it was actually a great idea, because lately I've been going to the gym. I walk there, trying to get back in shape and stuff. And I see that there's a lot of homeless sleeping on these properties where there's no type of business, there's nothing. And then you see all these people passing by. And I mean, the light in there, passing those parking lots, it does get pretty sketchy, because you're walking, all of a sudden you hear these people screaming, you hear people sleeping on the sidewalk. You're walking without a safety. I feel like, bringing more business, bringing something more open will be more safe around those streets, mostly on that side of town. Love you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Santiago, followed by Manuel Lopez.
Muy buenas tardes, mi nombre es Iris Santiago, hablo español, yo vivo en la 1548 Sur Walnut, estamos muy contentos porque estamos esperando
Hang on
la...
a sec. I don't have a translator.
Is somebody willing to translate for her?
Okay. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Iris Santiago, estamos muy contentos.
She said, good afternoon, she's Iris Santiago, and she's very happy for this new project that's going to come in.
Mi dirección es 1548 Sur Walnut.
Or her address is
1548.
1548
Sur Walnut.
South Walburn in Santa Maria.
Okay. Mi punto de vista que estoy aquí. Okay. Mi punto de vista estoy aquí porque más que nada soy madre de familia.
She says she's here because she wants to say that, like, she's a mother of a family, mother of home.
Okay. Y no tenemos algo como el Discount Center que va a tener como la posibilidad de que cuando vayamos a dejar a la escuela a los niños podamos ir a comprar algo rápido, porque todo lo que tenemos está retirado del espacio donde vivimos.
She's happy because when she'll go to take her kids to school, and she's happy the disco center is there for she can go real quick and buy like clothing, because the rest of the stores are too far from where she lives at.
Todo el tiempo que caminamos por esa área siempre miramos personas que andan caminando alrededor de esa área.
Every time she walks there, she always sees people walking there, homeless people walking around that area.
Y en este tiempo ha aumentado más de lo normal, porque antes solamente eran pocas personas y en estos días se está mirando más, como miran solo el lugar, están llegando más personas, están llegando como personas a dormir en ese lugar. El lugar está muy oscuro.
She says now it's increasing more of the people getting there because they see it, the place is unvacant and it's a dark place. There's more people getting there than they're sleeping there. And she goes, and it's very dark right now.
Mis niños tienen mucho miedo ya de pasar por esa área por lo mismo de que está oscuro y es como un lugar grande y es mucho el espacio que tiene y no hay lugar donde solamente está la lavandería, está las donas, que está muy retirado de ese lado porque ese lugar está solo y necesitamos algo que haya más visibilidad para que podamos llegar con confianza.
She goes, her kids are afraid to walk through there now because the only place close there is the laundromat and the donut place kind of far, and there ain't not that much lighting there, and they need a business like this place where there be more lighting and the homeless will not be being around there.
Toda la vecindad hemos estado platicando todo esto y todos estamos muy contentos porque en esta área necesitábamos algo así, algo que tuviéramos como céntrico, como porque era un lugar donde ya toda la gente se estaba como llegando ahí.
Okay. He said that there were all the all the neighborhood, all the people talked about it, and they say that it's a good business that's going to open there because they need some place, they need some business like that to be there.
Thank you very much.
Gracias.
Yeah, hi, my name is Manuel Lopez.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just going to state here that us people, we come from, it's called contract for 6 months, and we used to live on the north side, but now they brought us to this side of town, and that's where we can walk and we buy our clothing and stuff that we need to, that they ask for us at work, and that's what does us better if this place would be open, because it gets us too far to go walking. Like, we don't have no transportation. And I think it'd be a nice business place there for the public. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Darwin Sanchez?
Good evening. Darwin, the address is 1711 South Broadway. I'm a produce manager in the market right next door to the potential store. And since other stores have opened nearby that sell similar products to where I'm working at, I feel like creating this discount center will create more foot traffic for surrounding businesses, and we'll bring back the balance for all businesses that have decreased throughout the months. And that's it.
Thank you very much. We have Bonnie Brown and Doug Pickington.
Hello, I'm Bonnie Brown with Old Town Shops, and my address 1442 East Lincoln Avenue. Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners, and staff. The reason I'm here is we have representing ownership that spent a great deal of money to renovate the Old Town Shop during 2016-2017, and we definitely want to bring the highest and best use for the center. The part of the reason why Betty's Fabrics was vacant for a long period of time, they have passed several offers for thrift stores, discount stores type of use. They want to select the best tenancy for the city of Santa Maria. Having 16 different uses, it's a big concern. It's a concern for retailers that might be coming in and not be able to come in. We might not be able to attract variety of retailers to come in to invest in our center. I understand that there will be managers on site. The concern of having 16 different tenants who are also their customers paying their rent would be a concern that the standard might or might not be up to par. Our biggest concern is parking. As it is right now, it requires 58 parking space. It's only 31 for the parcel. There is a easement parking on the center. However, that means the other tenants in the center will be detriment to that overparking problem. We definitely agree business to fill the vacancy is most important. We want to bring in quality retailers. We want to be able to keep control over the homeless issues and keep the location safe for the community, but not at the cost of other tenants and the quality of the shopping center. So that's what I would like to present. Thank you.
Would the applicant like to make a closing statement? Yes.
Okay, so I just want to do a comment on there when they said about the 16 tenants. It's not like we said earlier, it's not 16 tenants. It's only 5 tenants. The Family Dollar store sells toys, sells medicines, sells electronics, sells food, sells soda, so they count those as a tenant. Because for our 60% of the use, as you can see over there, is a discount store, which is almost similar to their stuff. They will be selling, there will be toys, clothing, shoe, medicine, soda, chips. It's kind of similar. There's no big difference. So it's not actually 16 tenants. It's almost the same as a dollar family is similar to discount store. There's not that big difference. They sell all kinds of stuff, as in soda, electronics, medicine, stuff like that. And we are kind of similar to it. We bought this building about a year ago for $1.850. We have spent a lot of money on it. We have remodeled it, spent over $200,000 with the planning, with the permits, with the fixtures that we have ordered. So, yeah, that's all I gotta say. That's it.
Thank you. Now I'll close the public hearing.
There's another public comment.
Are you the owner or the applicant? Come on up.
Yeah, hello, good evening. My name is Yahya Murshid. I'm also the owner that next door to the Fabricato Market with all my other partner. So we didn't need no tenants. These people, they ask us, we just give them a favor. Otherwise, I didn't need them. They are 1, 2, 3. They come after they shut down, they just give me. I don't want to give them any space because it's enough for myself. This building I buy is a discount store. It's like basic, like 99 store or other store. But since the discount store, the already been sitting down, these people, I know them because I've been here in the area almost like 15 years. I have 6 or 7 stores, like different laundry, all the stuff. And we got over like 100 people, workers for us. I mean, we have the city, we have the community. We did, for the last 15 years, we've been here in Santa Maria after we moved out. And these people, they just been here 25 years. It's like 1, 2, 3. If you guys don't want them, I don't want them. I can open the store just the way how it is, discount store. But if it's up to them and up to you guys, and I always tell them, if the city is okay with you guys, I'm okay with you. Otherwise, I mean, I can go ahead and do it because I've been spending enough money. I've been, the way has in my plan. But whatever you guys you see, we will do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And the public hearing's closed. Commissioners, comments?
As I looked at the project, I looked at whether they met what the staff asked of them, the parking, the landscaping, and they went through and they met all that. But the most important thing that I heard today was the public comment and the request for this project because of the residences that live close. They want somewhere close to shop, the homeless issue, the safety issue, and I really think that having a vacant building is not good for the city for safety, but as well as for revenue. And I think there is a need there that it's going to fulfill for the people who want to sell in, the 5 tenants, but as well as the residents. And you're hearing from the nearby businesses as well who are saying we support this because it's going to bring more traffic, foot traffic to us. And so for that reason, the people have spoken and they've said, we agree with this project, we want this project, and for that I'm in favor of it. Thank you.
Commissioner Dickerson?
I understand the public comments and of those who live nearby. I think the issues of the homeless, the lighting, some of the safety, I think those are temporary issues that, if any of the spaces get filled, that those will be dealt with. More lighting will come in, more security, that sort of thing. I know Ms. Brown, as she spoke, she was talking about how they've slowly been upgrading that particular strip and bringing in new vendors such as Yummy Donuts, and that it would be a burden on them being able to negotiate a higher end, perhaps a higher revenue generating set of retailers. It seems to me that all of the categories that are being spoken of that are going to go into this discount mall, I did a walk along the just one block up north of that to all the little stores between Battles and Enos that end at Weatherby's. And all those stores carry the same exact types of products. They carry toys. They carry, there's some food there. They carry clothing. There's a lot of that, and that center itself is relatively vibrant. There were a lot of people there when I did my inspection of that. So from this standpoint, I think for me, kind of trying to improve the existing character of that shopping center means a lot to me, and I would not want to hinder the advances that have been made by Old Town Shops and by Betty's Fabrics as they try to negotiate for a higher end retailer that they've expressed that would may very well stop the negotiations if they're next to a discount store. This is in the Entrada specific plan, which means that as part of what we do, we are trying to lift the quality of the shops that are along that area. And to be perfectly candid, I do not believe a discount center does that lifting for the community. So I would not be in favor of this project.
Thank you, Commissioner. As I stated in the study session, this is a difficult project. I don't like the location of it, and I know we have different discount malls in the city. I was really hoping to bring something a little bit higher end into this area. This is a Broadway. This is a main Entrada program into our city. That it's true that building has been vacant for a while, but it's a good-looking building. I just don't want to see it as a discount mall. I'm hoping that we could get something a little higher end in there with a little bit more tax revenue than what we're talking about, and plus keep the Entrada program. It seems like once we did Enos, we're forgetting that there is a downtown, that there is a Broadway, that this is our main entrance to our city, and it's very important to keep that look and that feel of our hometown here. And I just think that we're going off track by putting this sort of a business in that building. I wasn't in favor for it on the study session. I told you that. And I haven't seen anything here to change my mind tonight. I still don't like the idea of it, and I can't go along with this project. So that's my statement. Do we have a motion? Or what do we have here? Wait a minute.
If I may weigh in.
Yes, it is by motion.
Chair Seifert.
Yes.
With the direction the commission is going, similar to the other project, if we look in your packets on the permit, there are findings. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those we're going to have to make findings explaining why this project doesn't comply with those. So we're going to need to continue this item and come back with resolution and findings that your commission is going to have to adopt, findings explaining why this project does not meet our code. So we will have to continue this item. We recommend November 21st, similar to the other item, and your commission will need to adopt some very specific findings.
I move that we adopt or that we continue this to the November 21st to allow staff to come up with findings that we will address at that time.
Do I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Your item has been continued. Correct? This time, we're going to move on to number 6, Carpenters Union Training Facility, General Plan, Zoning Plan, Map Amendment, Tentative Parcel Map, and Plan Development Permit at 2210 North Prescott Lane. Staff presentation, please.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Netta Zaire. I'm the Principal Planner. I'll be giving the presentation tonight. The project before you is a variety of permits for your consideration, approval, and recommendation to the City Council. The project site is located at 2210 North Prescott Lane. The project site is highlighted in yellow here, and it's located on the very north end of town, adjacent to Highway 101 by the North Broadway off-ramp. Here's a closer image of the site. The site used to be the location of an RV campground that's been vacant since 2016. It's surrounded to the north by Boomers Amusement Park. To the west is the off-ramp, southbound off-ramp of North Broadway on Highway 101. And just south of that is currently a vacant lot that's under development, and the proposed Prescott Commercial Center that was approved by the Planning Commission in 2015 for a Hampton Inn hotel, a Wendy's, and 2 other pads is under construction right now. And then to the west is single-family residential area. The applicant is proposing to process a general plan amendment and zone change. That will be a recommendation from Planning Commission to City Council. They're proposing to change the land use designation of the site from FS, which is freeway service, to CC, which is community commercial. As you can see, just south of the project site is also has a land use designation of CC. In 2015, with the Prescott Commercial Center project, that site was also redesignated to General Commercial Zoning District with a CC land use designation. They're also proposing to rezone it from PDFS, Plan Development Freeway Service, to PDC2, which is a Plan Development General Commercial Zoning District. They're proposing this redesignation for 2 reasons. One, to permit the proposed project that's before you this evening. The Freeway Service Zoning District has a very limited specific use of list of uses. They do only allow restaurants, hotels, and auto service gas stations to be located there, limiting the use of the site. They are proposing a vocational training center, which would require a different zoning designation for it to go in this location. Secondly, they are wanting to rezone to allow for a broader list of uses for any future development that would occur on the site. Again, because of the limited uses of the FS zone, it would make it difficult to market the site for other uses. Here are some pictures of the existing site. This is a picture looking from Highway 101 off-ramp onto the site. There's some existing mature trees on site. The RVs are no longer there, and the site does still remain as is with the existing concrete open space and landscaping. This is a view further down the off-ramp onto North Broadway, looking across the Presser Commercial Center site onto the project site. That row of pine trees is proposed to be removed with this project, and in its place, new trees will be installed. Driving around to the other side onto Presker Lane, this is a view looking onto the site again from Presker Lane, that same row of pine trees that is proposed to be removed. Here's a view of it from the corner. As you can see, there's utility lines along the frontage. Those will be underground, as well as the street trees along this frontage will be removed. They've been severely pruned due to utility clearances and will be replanted with other trees. And this is a view of the site looking into one of the existing driveways that will be remaining, providing access onto the project site. This is also from Presker Lane. The proposed project that's going along with this general plan amendment and zone change is a tentative parcel map. The parcel map will divide the site into two parcels. The front parcel currently does not have any project proposed with it. Once and when that site does develop, they'll need a plan development permit in the future that will also be reviewed by the Planning Commission for that use and development. The proposed vocational training center would be located on Parcel 2, which is at the rear of the site along the 101 frontage. It's proposed on a flag lot, which basically means that it's proposed to have a access point or part of its parcel that leads into the rear portion. This provides access for vehicles, but also for utility connections. The applicant will be doing a reciprocal access agreement with Parcel 1, and on this access, Parcel 1 will be giving reciprocal access to Parcel 2 to allow and maintain both parcels access and use of either of those driveways. That is a condition of the map that is before you this evening. On the rear portion, they are proposing to construct a training facility for the Carpenters Union, where they will do skilled training for their members and for just the Carpenters Union in this area. They're proposing to have about 30 students at any given time at this facility being trained, and 15 staff and teachers or aides that will also be accompanying those students. It's a very hands-on program and a very hands-on facility. The site itself is going to provide and meet all of the requirements of the municipal code. The 32,500 square foot building is 2 stories and would require 45 parking spaces based on the municipal code. The site is proposing 69 parking spaces, so they are exceeding their parking requirement. Also, the municipal code requires that 15% landscaping be provided, They are exceeding that by 16.8%. They are installing new trees along the frontage, also along the perimeter of the site. They are adding a retention basin to meet their stormwater requirements and providing trees and landscaping around that, as well as ample landscaping and trees within the parking lot area. The facility itself will also have this outdoor patio area for union events to be held at this location. Moving on to the floor plan, it is a 2-story facility. The second story is limited. It's a mezzanine type area. The first floor will have this very large open space area for training and classroom activities, hands-on training. There will be a welding lab. And in the front portion, there will be classrooms for lecture type uses. On the second floor, there will be an area designated for storage, a gallery area, and training labs specifically for training for medical type construction. Here are the proposed elevations for the building. They are doing a contemporary style architecture. They are trying to match what was approved by the Planning Commission for the Prescott Commercial Center. That center has also a contemporary style with rectilinear forms, so they are mimicking that in this architecture. The east elevation will be the elevation visible from Highway 101. They're using a contemporary color palette of reds, blacks, and grays, a variety of materials, including sheet metal, wood paneling, glass, and stucco. The west elevation will be the elevation that's visible from the parking lot and the main entrance into the facility. Here is a larger rendering of the proposed building from views from the parking lot into the entrance of the facility. The applicant is agreeable to all the conditions in the PD permit, except for one, condition number 62, which is a condition from the Recreation and Parks Department. The condition states the requirements of installing new street trees and trees along the Highway 101 frontage. However, the condition does state, and it's highlighted here in red, that there are 3 pine trees along that Highway 101 frontage that they would desire to remain. These trees are in good health, they're mature, in good condition, and do not obstruct the development of the project, and staff is recommending that those remain. The applicant would like to strike this sentence out of the permit. They would like the ability to remove those existing pine trees because they would like to demo the entire site and reinstall all of the landscape and trees. Staff is in favor of keeping the condition. However, the applicant would like pine trees numbered 114, 116, and 119 shall be retained to be removed from the condition. All of the other trees on Parcel 2 will be removed as part of this project to allow for the construction of the project, and they're requesting these 3 be removed in addition. The actions before you this evening are by resolution to adopt the mitigated negative declaration that's been drafted for the project. It's gone through circulation and comments. The comments were received from APCD, the Air Pollution Control District, and from the San Ynez Native Council Tribe. Those comments that were received were incorporated into the mitigated negative declaration as mitigation measures that were drafted into the document presented before you this evening. Secondly, by resolution to recommend that the City Council approve the general plan amendment and zone change to redesignate the site from freeway service to general commercial. And then by resolution to approve the tentative parcel map with the map conditions as presented before you this evening. And then lastly, by motion to conditionally approve the PD permit as is PD 2018-10 to not go into effect until action has been made by the City Council on the GPZ. That concludes staff's presentation. I'm available for any questions. The applicant's architect is also here and available for questions.
Questions to staff? Mr. Dickerson.
The 3 trees that staff would like to keep, are those Jeffrey pines? They're kind of a specialized pine tree, aren't they?
You can see them in this picture. They're right about here. Yeah. And I believe this one here, that is along the frontage. Yeah. They're very mature. They've probably been there for about 20 to 25 years. And our city arborist did go out and take a look on the site and still finds them in good health and condition and believes they still have a good 10 to 15 years of life in them.
Okay. The row of trees that is that's going to be taken down to the south. I guess it's that row. Can you bring the overhead?
Let's go closer.
No, well, anyway, that, that works fine. It's come to my attention, I think the reason that the majority of those are coming down is they're dying because the construction to the south severed their roots. Is that true to some extent?
Correct. The development to the south proposed and is building a retaining wall along their northern boundary, which is the southern boundary of this project site. In installation of that retaining wall, they did cut the root system of this row of pine trees, effectively damaging them. It is the opinion of the arborist, both hired by the applicant and the city arborist, that it's only a matter of time before they degrade and die.
So, given that, I understand that a row of trees has been suggested there. Is it going to be a 1-to-1 thing? Is it going to be the 2-to-1 thing? What are we looking at?
So their landscape plan shows the trees as proposed. There is a condition in the PD permit that does indicate that every tree that's being removed on site be replaced per the requirement of the municipal code. The municipal code has different replacement requirements based on the size of the tree. So the more mature the tree is, the higher the replacement requirement. So staff will be working with the applicant to calculate exactly how many replacement trees will be required. If they are unable to meet all of that replacement requirement on site, then a in lieu fee will be paid to the Recreation and Parks Department to install trees in public areas like parks or along the streets or in right-of-ways.
What would be the circumstances by which they would not be able to replant the trees per the calculation?
There are a lot of existing trees on site. If the replacement requirement will be pretty large, if we're running out of room based on the site design of installing all of those trees, which has happened in other cases, then those additional trees would not be, in essence, lost. They would be installed somewhere else where the public would benefit from them.
And that lower area, as well as the off-ramp to 101, basically that whole line there, is the concept there, because when you go there, it is one of the few remaining places that has very large, older growth forest, forested trees, and I do realize they're getting older. Some of them are probably on their way out. But is there a sense that the rows that are going to be put there are going to produce an abundance of trees to kind of reinvigorate that whole area to give it a sense of reforestation?
So staff has required large canopy trees in its replacement. So the trees that are proposed along the 101 frontage are saw-leaf Zalcovas. Those will get very large in size. They are similar to the street tree that's now being installed along Broadway, and so the desire, and along the Prescott Commercial Center. So the desire was to tie it into that existing project. They will probably get close to the size of those existing pine trees.
Okay. And just one last question. Is a general idea of separation between the trees? Every what, do you think?
That will vary from species to species based on how big that tree will get. So if a tree has a 60-foot canopy, then we space them about every 40 feet so that there's ample enough room for them to grow. Okay. So we will take a look at that during the plan check stage and make sure that there's adequate room and not that there's large voids, but it's providing a good coverage.
Okay. And that's something that you probably work with the city arborist over and that type of thing, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, those are my questions. Thanks.
Commissioner Hernandez? Whose responsibility is it to pay for those trees that were damaged?
For the removal of them?
Well, I know that whenever we do a project, it's very strict requirements as to protecting the trees. So if they put in a retaining wall and cut the roots, isn't it up to them to replace the trees? Whoever cut the roots and destroyed the trees?
I would defer to the applicant in their discussion with the adjoining property owner. The city has not gotten involved in the discussions of who will be liable for payment of those.
Because it was always in the city requirements that we protect the trees. So it was always a city requirement that those trees be protected on any new construction. So I'm wondering how they got damaged and nobody noticed it.
We would have to check and see on that neighboring parcel with that permit process, whether or not there is an active case. We could look into that. It's not this property, it's a different property owner, and we would have to see what.
The hotel that we approved.
Correct, yeah. I believe Dynamic is constructing that
I would
project
be
right now.
surprised if they're not liable for those trees.
You're correct.
Just saying. Okay. We have another question. Thank you. Commissioner Hernandez.
Yeah, there is a future project for this area. I guess Caltrans is going to do the intersection, am I correct?
Correct.
We were talking about the trees. I apologize. The overchange, the exchange, the freeway exchange.
The freeway
on-
exchange.
On-ramps, off-ramps.
Yes. Will then Caltrans be in control of that?
The interchange is in the Caltrans right-of-way. However, the project, the city of Santa Maria is the lead agency for that project.
So it is going to be in their right-of-way,
Correct. The interchange is.
the interchange. So my question is, I know you're the lead agency, but do they have the final say because it is in their right-of-way?
It's a combination. There will be alternatives for the alignment of the interchange, and the city will then have the preferred choice, but we will be in coordination with Caltrans.
So if traffic is increased, as an example, it is on the Betaravia exit, right? We are the lead agency, were we not, on that? But
Correct.
then it's Caltrans, and we've had to wait for Caltrans to make those changes. If traffic is increased here, will we have to wait for Caltrans then to make those changes?
Well,
And when they want.
Well, during the project approval in the environmental document, we'll be conducting traffic studies to identify the impacts, the existing and future impacts, and design accordingly to those impacts, to those traffic needs. Is that?
No, my question is, we do that, and then we realize we have a problem. We have to wait for Caltrans, just like we do on Betaravia?
Well, the hope is when you do these studies is that you vet these traffic issues out and you identify them and you plan accordingly and design accordingly for those. If in the future there is some traffic issues, obviously it would be for the city, because it is within the city, the traffic, it would be in our best interest to address it if it does become a problem.
I think what Commissioner Hernandez is asking is that if we approve this and it starts impacting, which it may very well, how far down the line is it? How long before that problem is mitigated? More than likely, are we looking at something that's 6 months, a year, 2 years? I mean, what are we looking at? How long do the residents of Presker and further up going to have to suffer through additional traffic? Is that what you were looking for?
Right, because in Betaravia, as an example, we've had to wait, it's been 2 years now since, because of Caltrans, they move very slow.
Right, and specifically for Betaravia, we did have to work with Caltrans, and then we've identified short-term improvements to address traffic issues, which I believe will take us out 10 plus years. In this particular case, we are in the process already to identify those issues and to mitigate them. The likelihood of us approving a project approval, it'll probably take about a year and a half, 2 years at the most.
For the approval?
For the approval.
And then how about the actual construction thereafter?
About a year.
So about 3 years out is what we're
Three,
looking at?
three, three, and it depended upon the process. I'm going to be conservative here, so let's just say push it out to 4 years. But we are moving forward with the Prescott commercial development to include a right turn lane.
That's where I was headed. So the off-ramp and the overpass are one thing, but the traffic problem that the lady from the north end of town already said, she came and spoke. Is that what we're discussing, the issue at like Prescott or the actual freeway?
The actual freeway. So I drove by at different times looking at this project. I drove by in the morning, I drove by at 3 p.m., and then I drove by around 4:45 or so. Each time in the morning, there is a problem with traffic. In the evening, it was horrible. I mean, it was backed up. It was to a point where I felt somebody was going to rear end me because I was coming off the freeway at a speed, and stacking was a big issue. And so that is a problem that needs to be addressed, but it's going to take us, Caltrans, 3 to 4 years to address that issue if we add more. We already approved, the hotel and Wendy's, which is why I'm asking. Traffic is a big issue there. When I got off the freeway, specifically it was, like I said, around 4:35, 4:45 time frame.
Okay, so I think I understand your question. So I'll use Betaravia as an example. Now, that project still requires a project study report, project approval, and environmental documents. So that is a lengthy process. That is a process of at least, say, 4 years. Now, in the interim, what the city is proposing is to do what I would call short to medium-term improvements, which will dramatically improve traffic flow in that general area. With the Prescott commercial development, we looked at and analyzed traffic issues that are currently happening, such as the ones that you're describing now. With that, we're adding a right turn lane at Prescott, Prescott and Broadway, which will help. It's in a similar fashion where, is it the ultimate solution for this? No. But is it going to buy us some time until the interchange is built and completed? Yes.
How long is that going to take to have that lane to deal with the Band-Aid of Prescott?
Well, that's in construction right now, as we speak. I mean, the Prescott commercial is in construction. They have plans that are approved by Caltrans. It's just a matter of the developer proceeding forward in that manner. We're addressing right now drainage issues for the development specifically. As they move forward, they will then include the right turn lane, which I believe will help to alleviate that.
So that's part of the hotels.
Yes.
So
yeah.
As the
Do we know
hotels being built.
I can't tell you specifically, but as we move forward with these planning commission meetings, that's my goal, is to present that to the commission so that you're privy.
I would state within a year, because they're under construction.
Correct.
So they're going to be actively doing that street improvement on Prescott as they do their development. So
And it's probably fair to say that the development itself, either of these developments, that Prescott, that additional Prescott lane will be up and running before these other developments are finished.
I would say that's a safe bet.
Yeah. Okay.
Because
So the
it
traffic-
is under construction.
And so looking at the big picture, when you look at the traffic that's going to be generated by the Carpenters Union, it's not going to be as significant. So my belief is that with the improvements that are proposed for the Prescott Commercial Center, that will help to alleviate as I mentioned before, the traffic issue that you're seeing.
Well, one thing too, I'm guessing that they'll be leaving. They won't be getting there in the evening. So they're not going to be stacking southbound. They're going to be actually trying to get through the intersection and get on the freeway and get home, whether it's north or south.
Right, and I think you answered my question. What you said is we have control over that intersection, right, and within the city, but we don't have control over the freeway traffic because
Correct.
that's Caltrans.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, what I also want to add, and I didn't mention earlier, is that with the Prescott Commercial Project, they're going to do signal modifications. We'll be monitoring them closely, such as they won't be I'm referring back to Betaravia so that we want to be privy to those modifications so that they aren't, if you've driven through Betaravia, some of the signal modifications the signal modifications that they did do weren't as
It's not working as planned.
as positive as we would have expected it to. Theoretically, they did provide additional time. However, the queuing doesn't equate to the added time. So we'll be working closely with the developer and then also the review of the traffic control plan, modifications at the signal as well as the timing to identify and make sure that we have that clear.
Something that works real well for my neck of the woods when you get off the Santa Maria, when you're going north and you get off Santa Maria Way, or no, sorry, when you're going south and you get off Santa Maria Way, they have a white line, and that lane never stops.
Right.
It's a controlled exit, right turn, but it's not a lighted or anything. But I'm telling you that right there, that traffic doesn't stop.
It's
and
effective.
It works, and I think they have the same thing on Clark. And if they did that on Presker, maybe that would be a way to keep that traffic flowing and not backing up. I don't know.
And this is another question, traffic question. The building they want to put is on parcel 2, right? Not parcel 1.
The back one.
Wouldn't it help for them to put it on parcel 1 because it would be, see, right now you're asking them to loop all the way around to go to the front. Wouldn't it be easier to do that because of the right lane turn if they switch their product to parcel 1? Wouldn't that alleviate the traffic? Because here you're driving all the way around.
I'm not quite sure if I followed. You're saying to put the building on parcel 1?
Yeah, so they're stating that they're going to cut their property into 2 parcels.
So either way, they're going to have to go around,
Right.
so regardless of which parcel it's on. Because the movement is, if you're coming off the freeway, you'll go here, turn right here, go down here, and go into this driveway. Whether you enter in here or down here, that's circulation inside the project site.
And so here, you're not giving them the option to exit on Presker and make a right. They all have to go through and hit the freeway traffic. Do you understand what I'm saying?
They will have reciprocal access between both driveways. So they can go this way out of either driveway, or they can make left-hand turn movements. The tentative tract map, or tentative parcel map, grants each parcel access to both driveways. And they can make lefts and rights out of both driveways. If that answers your question.
Yep, that answers the question. Thank you.
Yeah, any other questions? I did have someone come up to me and ask me, why is the Carpenters Union building a tilt-up building? Well, and why isn't there more wood? And why is it red? So that was the 3 public comments that I got personally. They didn't like the red, and they didn't think that it fit in with pretty much anything over there. And the fact that there's no wood showing on a carpenter's building, they show a panel here, number 4, says wood plank ceiling. So the only thing they've got in wood is ceiling. Everything else is metal and concrete. So just saying.
But it will match the other designs once the hotels go up. I mean, that's the reason I think that they went that direction.
Yeah, but wood would also.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I have the similar question for the applicant. I went on the website and I looked at the other buildings, and none of them were black and red. And, I would like to see more wood as well.
Do you want to get the applicant presentations? Let's get them up here, and then we can ask questions. Thank you, Commissioner. So the applicant, I'm assuming you have a presentation for us. Please state your name and your address.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is CJ Horstman. I'll be representing the applicant, the architect with MW Architects. So kind of want to start with addressing this project. It's a great project for the community. We're really excited about it. This training center will equip kind of both the current workforce and the future generation workforce with the skills and for professional skills and life skills and management skills. We've been encouraged by mostly positive feedback on this project in the community, and grateful for the guidance of the planning department as we've been working through a long process with, as you can see, all these permits that need to go forward to approve this project. So, yeah.
Could you adjust the microphone a little more?
Is this better?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. So through this process, we've gone through extensive studies to ensure that we abide the local, state, and federal requirements and regulations, and create a development that is that we think is equitable and an improvement on what is there on the site. We started by having an arborist go out and walk the site, produce a report, which should be in the documents. Did a survey of every tree on this site, noted that the trees along the existing south frontage were damaged and would possibly fail. And also they were in declining health as well. Additionally, we had an independent environmental consultant, which prepared the mitigated negative declaration document that you guys have. And they confirmed the arborist findings, did not specifically limit the removal of any trees on the site, and proposed kind of typical mitigation measures for tree removal. That would be basically any project in this area would have concerning endangered species and nesting bird, Migratory Bird Act. So the condition that the Parks Department has recorded and in the approval documents, this is condition number 62, if you guys want to take a look, gives kind of guided parameters for tree placement along the Broadway off-ramp frontage, and that's really the only area that we've just wanted to talk about a little bit. So those guidelines will be having us replace the non-native Jeffrey pines planted by the last developer with the new sawtooth leaf Zecovia trees, which are on the city's tree list. It's kind of making our landscape compatible, trying to clean up the site, and kind of generally cleaning up old dying tree line there. We agree that this is a great improvement over the existing site conditions and think the new trees will enhance the appearance of the site from the freeway, as well as tying it into kind of city standards. Currently, the condition of these trees, it's just 3 trees that we're talking about now, which is the subject of our concern. We've kind of been over the other ones and don't want to beat that to death. But these trees, we're concerned about right now they're listing towards the freeway. You can kind of see that from the pictures that is showing. So they're leaning generally towards the freeway and present a potential hazard with increasing potential to drop cones and branches as they continue to age. So there's a maintenance aspect to this that as these trees decline with age, which 5 to 10 years, 10 to 12 years, we're not sure, but given the other trees on the site that have fallen in decline, we're thinking it's sooner than later, that they'll become a high maintenance issue, and not just our maintenance issue, but now Caltrans maintenance issue. So replanting that tree line with something that's easier to maintain for our site kind of cleans it up and kind of kills 2 birds with 1 stone there. We also believe these trees here aren't really visually compatible with the new development that's going on here. We're going to have kind of an announcement here of the entry to Santa Maria. You have the new hotel going in, and this contemporary flavor. The trees that we're proposing here, and actually the city has conditioned us to use, and we agree with will be compatible with that landscape plan. So you kind of get a uniform package when you enter the city. So as the development's going forward, the client's desire is having permission to remove these trees during the construction phase. So these 3 subject trees, instead of taking the risk for damaging infrastructure that's going to be put in, and inevitably removing those trees in the future when they do fail. We'd like to just do that now because we're going to be developing the site. So our suggestion is that the condition is revised to remove that last sentence. There are sufficient conditions throughout the document that would hold us to the tree replacement rate, so that's specified in condition number 12, and we would be abiding to that. We would take that condition, which for these trees, I believe you're going to be looking at a 3-to-1 replacement rate, and we're conditioned to use the Zecovia or sawtooth leaf Zecovia along this frontage. So that's a nice tree. 24-inch box is also in that condition, so it's going to be planted at a decent size. Concerning, I think, Maribel, you brought up some traffic concerns there. Our use has also been studied through that mitigated negative declaration document. The use is very low. The reason the building is big is because they need a lot of space to do their work. They're going to be doing some framing labs in there. There's going to be welding labs. So it's not because we're going to pack this thing full of people, but rather they have sufficient space to do the training programs. So that's all considered when the independent environmental agency does their report. They look at, okay, what's the use, what's the current traffic situation, what are these kind of traffic studies around this area have been showing us. And they found that our development won't add significant enough impact to do further improvements. However, the improvements for the Press Career Center will be improving the current conditions in that area. And I think, Tim, you brought up that kind of the ebb and flow. We're going to be entering in the morning and exiting in the afternoon. 4 p.m. is when classes get out of this center. Regarding the aesthetics of the building, it's partially branding. There's the red tower, and these are compatible colors, kind of speak to the carpenter's trade. Kind of historically, they give a good sense of identity there. It also is to just have a more contemporary flavor. These are, I'd say, graphic design colors, if you know anything graphic design-wise. But reds, blacks, and grays are in a contemporary palette. So the idea is to create high contrast, to bring interest to the building, and also to pay homage to kind of the use of the building. So that's why the palette was selected as according. And the Carpenters actually covers multiple trades. It's not just wood, but they actually will be doing concrete pouring in these labs, and foundations, footings, retaining walls, all those things. So Carpenters, it's understood specifically sometimes as, oh, they just do things with wood, but that's not entirely true. So the tilt-up concrete building and actually the meshing of a lot of different building systems more kind of represents the global umbrella that the Carpenter's trade represents. So if there's any further questions, I'm happy to answer those or try to address those.
Commissioners?
Are you
Hernandez.
Are you open to changing the color?
That would be something we'd have to speak with the applicant about. If it becomes a study that needs to be conditioned, that needs to happen, then we are open to that.
All the colors or just the red? What are you referring to?
Well, something more of the wood, more representative. Like I said, when I went on your website, I didn't see this as a branding, the red and the black, right? In the other locations you have, they were more of the softer to go with the wood colors and so forth. So I was surprised to see this is a different color because I didn't see that in your branding.
Yeah, if you refer to the Carpenter's seal, that was kind of the inspiration there behind the color palette, and that's on the building. That seal is red and blue, and the red is just a vibrant color that really draws attention. So that's why we went with that one.
If I may, one of the things that...
You're going to have to come to the microphone. State your name and your address, the whole bit.
Manley McNinch, 4587 South Bradley, Orcutt. I'm the chairman of the board for the community carpenters. We're the ones that are actually building this, not the Carpenters Union. They will not own that building. We will. And they will be our main tenant. That's where the Carpenters Union's coming into it. They will be the main occupant of the building. We'll also be doing other training services for communities, such as CPR, first aid, courses like that offered to the public, and numerous other courses coming in. The buildings you saw online belong to the Carpenters Union.
Okay.
They don't
Yes.
belong to us.
Okay.
And every one of those training centers, they're all tilt-up concrete buildings. That's to build that structure the way it's needed for the interior training and everything. And the training all has to be inside of the building. It can't be done outside, part of the ordinances and conditions we're complying to. So as far as the colors, I like it. I think it really looks good. And coming off the freeway, it's going to show really good contrast out to the people coming by. And when they see that building, we're seeing as people are going to kind of be inspired by it. This town's showing a lot of promise going forward. And since this went on the newspaper about 2 weeks ago, and got a lot of positive results from the community about it. So putting wood on the front of the building, we can put all kinds of wood on the front entryway and stuff. Just paint
Actually,
it,
on the freeway side was the
on
comment
the freeway
that I got.
side, it's,
Yeah.
where would you propose it?
The red.
The red.
That main red right there is that's on the back of the building? So we can
It's on the 101 side.
put it wood and paint it red, how's that?
Well, you're halfway there.
And just so the other commissioners, I actually like this color palette. But so there is one
I
voice
never went
out
on
there.
colors. I'm just stating what someone told me,
I
and
know.
And also,
understand.
I get it.
Like to point one more thing out, red's kind of a political thing, red, blue. We're a bipartisan union, so we're not Democrat, we're not Republican. We go with either or. And the community carpenters can't be political with any of it. That's part of the conditions of us existing. So, I don't know. It kind of struck me when people asked about the red. So,
Are you affiliated with the Carpenters Union?
I work for them.
Okay, and the architect, I believe you misspoke about as far as carpenters pouring concrete. They can set the forms, but I believe it's the masons or the concrete union that would be actually pouring the concrete. Isn't that true?
They'll be finishing it, not pouring it. Laborers will actually pour the concrete.
The labor, okay, they're your
Laborers
laborers
will pour
union.
it.
The carpenters will set the form, the laborers will pour the concrete, and the finishing union will finish, and the finishers will finish it.
They'll finish the concrete, correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
I have a question about your trainings. You said you would have CPR trainings and other types of trainings.
Correct.
How many people does that building fit to have those types of training?
That type of training, it'll be done on a case-by-case basis, and none of that training will go on when there's any kind of apprenticeship training going on from the Carpenters Union. They'll never cross over. We don't want that kind of potential interference with each other. So that type of training is basically going to be offered on a weekend.
Right, and how
Type
many
cut.
people do you anticipate could fit in the building? For
Maybe a
training?
15-person class. Keep them small so you get better hands-on participation with the class.
And what's the max capacity of the building?
The max capacity, what do we figure?
How many parking spaces do they have?
No, I mean, I don't see us ever coming close to potential occupancy. I don't know the formula for what that building will hold. It's big.
Okay, I guess I can ask staff. Maybe they know.
No, maximum capacities are established by the building
Fire.
code and fire department.
Fire department, yeah.
So you don't.
I'm not sure what the capacity would be designated for this building.
How many parking spots are there?
There's 69 parking spaces.
So that's going to,
That's quite a bit of people.
yeah, that'll
can
regulate
fit
some of
there.
it. Yep.
But to a certain extent, isn't it, I mean, it's like asking what's the capacity of an airline hangar. You don't ever expect to actually fill that airline hangar. It's there, it's that size for the purpose of the function, not for the number of people that are going to be in.
Correct. Due to the nature of what the applicants described will be occurring here, they are using large equipment, large pieces of lumber, things that require lots of square footage. The C2 zoning district, the general commercial, does not allow any work or storage outside, so they have been required that all of their activity be done wholly within their building, which was part of the reason for the sizing of the building. Also, if it does help the Planning Commission, the Presker Commercial Center, similar to this in form, is also similar in color. Each building has one bold color incorporated into it. One of the buildings has these blue blades instead of red blades. One has a green blade instead of the red blade. And then the Wendy's at the corner will have almost identical color to this. It'll be gray, white, black, and red.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a closing statement? You don't have to. Okay. Public hearing's closed. Going to bring it back to the commission. Comments?
Oh, she has a public comment.
Did you,
Did we miss it?
Yeah, she put in a slip.
didn't you already speak? I don't have a slip. I got no slip.
If you can come up and give your
Yeah, come on
name
in.
and address, we'll have her fill it out.
Yeah.
It went earlier, and then there's the
Well,
one
you
for
spoke earlier.
Item 6. I spoke already on another item, but I...
Let's just,
Okay.
doesn't matter.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
My name is
State your
Mary.
name and address for the record, please.
My name is Mary Jacka, 2226 Signal Avenue, Santa Maria, California. I'm not against the training center. I think it's great. It's just location, and the traffic. I'm glad Commissioner Hernandez has taken it upon herself to see what I'm talking about. You know, that picture that was shown, there was one car on there. That isn't happening today. Every day, it's a mess coming off there and making a right turn even. And if you're coming off the freeway, the overpass, then it's hard to make a right turn. Sometimes we have to go to Taylor or Donovan even. But one of the things too is, so they're coming in, turning right on Prescott, right from Broadway, turning right into the facilities. What about when they come out? When they come out, they have to make a left, and we've got traffic on Prescott Lane, sometimes all the way back to the fire station. And don't forget, there's a fire station nearby there that's going to be impacted too if we're backing up the traffic too much. So that's something that needs to be looked at and addressed, please, because we know that situation there. And if you can contact maybe Caltrans and give them a FYI already instead of waiting, because we already know it's already a problem. So thank you for talking about that. More open space, less parking, I think would be great. Since you don't need all that parking, it's not required, that would be great. And yeah, so let's not wait until we have a big problem and traffic accidents happening there left and right. Let's get on it. I mean, you know that it's a problem already, so maybe Caltrans can get near full from us too. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here tonight. Staff, what is the parking requirement and how many spaces do we have?
The parking requirement is 45, and they are proposing more than that. They are proposing 69 parking spaces. They do have a retention basin just south of the building. They're doing a plaza area with landscaping around it. They exceed the landscape requirements for the site. There is no open space requirement for commercial projects.
So, Commissioner Hernandez, would you, you're worried about the impact of the amount of people if we were to limit the parking to what's required and not exceed? Would that help you with this?
I just don't see how we can reduce the problem that we already have by adding more traffic. A business that's 45 people daily, Monday through Friday. I'm trying to figure out a way that we could structure this project, which is why I said, well, let's put it on Parcel 1 and reroute it to avoid being so close to the traffic. And I just don't, it's really the location. I think it's a good project. I think that we need something like this, but I'm trying to visualize how we could reduce and help the flow of traffic in this area with the way it's built, where it's located.
Commissioner Dickerson, anything to add?
Yeah, I don't see the same issue First of all, and as I stated in the study session, I like the building where it is. I do happen to like also the architecture and the coloring, but that's a aesthetic build. That's an aesthetic issue, personal thing. But I like the fact that as you come in as the entrance to the city, that we're telling people that we're educating. We're willing to educate people. We're willing to give them a craft, a trade that will last their whole life. And I think that's a good dynamic thing to be instilling in people. Certainly better than many of the equipment rental places that has its own connotations. But for me, the traffic, it actually, I mean, there's no doubt that it will impact to some extent because all traffic impacts to some extent. But I think it becomes an inverse. In other words, everybody in the morning is exiting along Prescott, exiting the the northwest area out of Prescott and onto 101 or down Broadway. So in the morning, everybody is exiting that area. Whereas the people that are going to be going into this particular project are actually entering that area. So they're not going, they should not be adding to the congestion in the same lanes that are currently there. The same is true in the afternoons. In the afternoons, when everybody is coming off of off of 101 and commuting and going back into the neighborhoods, these people will be exiting. So I don't see there being a tremendous amount of impact. And then, of course, I hope that David is correct and that our basic thought is correct, is that the Band-Aid that we're going to be doing for Prescott while we're waiting for the whole 101 interchange, that in itself will be built and up and running prior to the completion of this project or the hotel project. So I think that there are things that mitigate, that will be a release valve for this for that traffic, and I don't see there being a tremendous impact for this particular project. I really, and once again, I don't think moving it forward into pad 1 really does anything. So those are my comments.
Mr. Chair, if I may just add, just kind of reiterate, and forgive me if I wasn't clear the first time. As I mentioned, Prescott Commercial is currently under construction, so there will be a right turn lane that will accommodate traffic coming off of it. There will also be traffic signal modifications at the intersection. So before construction is completed, all these improvements will be in place. So any concerns that you may have regarding traffic, and this is in the big circle of things, this is a low traffic generator compared to the others, compared to the hotel, compared to the fast foods.
Yes.
These traffic modifications will be in place, and after carefully looking at the traffic studies and identifying and analyzing and and requiring these improvements of the developer of the Prescott Commercial, these concerns that we're having will be alleviated. At the same time, we'll be in the process of completing our project approval and environmental document, including all traffic studies that are associated with the interchange project. So they'll be in the process. As I mentioned before, it's going to be similar to the Betaravia project.
Well, I have a comment about, because like I said, I went in at 8 and I went at 5. People are coming, they're not going. It's not happening like we think it is happening. The people are leaving at 8. People are coming from San Luis County or from Nipomo. They work at Santa Maria. They take that exit. What I found was traffic in the morning and traffic at 5 p.m., So what we think is happening is they'll leave and other people, that's not what's happening. When I was there, it was impacted heavily. And I think we are already getting traffic from the restaurants, and the hotel. So I think the Prescott Broadway intersection would be it's already behind because we have a problem and we're reacting to that problem. So we're going to write the right turn lane to alleviate that problem. But then there's going to be more traffic that we're not addressing. So I think it's already heavily impacted, and we would have a limited say because this is a Caltrans, led project, and because of the future exchange, I think that we're creating a problem, a bigger problem, when we already have a problem. And so I just don't see how us alleviating the current problem that we have alleviates the future problem when we're going to have, we don't know how much traffic Wendy's and the hotel will have. As you stated, it will be heavier traffic.
Well, we do have an idea because we did forecasting when the original traffic study for the Prescott commercial, and that's the whole purpose of the traffic study, is to analyze, look at it. What does it look like now, and what will it look like in the future, and to accommodate improvements for that traffic that we're talking about right now. I firmly believe, and I'll just pick the evening time, as people are coming off, yes, you're going to see a lot of that because, quite frankly, to address or to go to all the traffic or all the residential areas, there's 2 points of contact. There is Prescott Lane, which is the first and foremost. That's an easy one, and then the other point of access is Taylor. So there's only 2 points to access that whole area. Now, again, when the Prescott commercial project came in, there was a full analysis done by a transportation professional. Staff looked at it, made the recommendations, and approved the mitigation measures that were for this project. One of them is signal modifications, which will likely have a free right, green light to proceed on right, which will keep traffic flowing, similar to a Clark Avenue. And it's I guess the other thing too is the human element of the traffic. It's hard to factor that into it, but with the analysis that were provided for the commercial center, I firmly believe that those traffic concerns will be addressed. And as we move forward with the interchange project, they will be further identified and addressed.
So you think that the traffic is going to get better?
I believe so. When you looking at it from the perspective that we have now, we have no right turn lane, we have no signal modifications. We're adding that. We're also adding traffic to this intersection, and I believe that will help to alleviate traffic. If there is in the future, at the time when all these improvements are built out and you're at full capacity at the commercial center, I firmly believe there's always room for improvement, to look at alternatives to help improve, such as signal modifications, timing, coordination, and partnership with Caltrans. I believe that.
Thank you, David.
Well, like I said, I think this is a good project. I'd like to see the project, but I just don't think this is a location for it. I think we need it in Santa Maria, but this location is just not the right location.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Dickerson?
I think it's a fine location for it. I think it says a lot about our community at the entrance. And I put my faith in staff and the reports that they have done on traffic flow, and whereas we may have some issues early on in the process, I think it'll hash itself out. I also don't think that, if you take, I don't know how many cars go through that intersection at the 8 to 9 o'clock, time period, or the 4 to 5 o'clock or 5 to 6 o'clock time period, but I can't imagine that this particular project adds a significant quantity of actual number of cars. There's got how many cars go through that intersection? roughly?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Dickerson, I can't tell you specifically how many there are. However, when you look at the use of the Carpenters Union, it is a light industrial use, which is almost equivalent to residential. And so those trips are, I wouldn't say they're insignificant, but in the spectrum of the traffic generators, such as a fast food and a hotel, it's on the lower end.
Right. So I just don't think that it's going to impact tremendously. I would be for this project.
Thank you, Commissioner. I like the project. I like what it does. I like what it says about our community. I like what it does for our people. Training, education, vocational is something that we just don't have enough of. We push these kids into these colleges, and they get these huge bills at the end, and then they're having troubles finding jobs where there's still vocation. You can still make $100,000 a year with your tools. We're not teaching people how to do this. We need to get this back in our society. Who's going to build all of our stuff if we're all playing video games? There has to be people that actually work. So I'm in favor for the project. I am very concerned with the traffic. I know Commissioner Hernandez is correct. It's a mess. But that goes back to my whole saying about being a planning commissioner in this town is we've got infill and we've got very limited resources to get this traffic under control. And I think that as a community member, it takes me 20 minutes to get here now. And I plan 20 minutes from my house. It never used to take 20 minutes to get here. But I understand that we're growing and that the infrastructure is shrinking because the people are growing. So, I mean, I'm a little bit more tolerant of it, I guess, because I'm a cause of it. I'm a builder and a planning commissioner. So, yeah, I mean, I'm the cause. So I understand it. I don't like it, but it is a fact of our town. Is it's going to get longer to get places. It's going to be harder to get places. Like my daughter says, I tell her, man, we need a bigger parking lot. She says, no, Dad, we need to get rid of the cars. And that's, I mean, all the big planners, that's what they're telling us. The bicycles, we're making very good infrastructure on the bicycles, the Uber, the Lyft. I took a Lyft to get my tires fixed the other day. I mean, there's people out there that will actually do that kind of a thing. But I don't see our traffic getting better. I think that we can do measures and mitigation to alleviate the traffic. I think that we're all going to have to understand that our community is growing and that we need to breathe a little bit when we're in our cars, not honk the horns, and understand that it's going to be more traffic. We're growing. We have more people. So that's the way I look at this project. And I don't like all the traffic that's up there, and I'm really counting on our staff and our engineering to come up with something, because it is impacting a heck of a lot of people. So I trust you, and I know it's going to be a few years, but I've been here for 40 years already. I'm hoping I'm going to be here for a few more. So I'm in favor for this project. I would like to see some modifications. The color, I'm obviously outvoted on that. Some of the facade, I would like to see a little bit more wood, not on the ceiling. As a carpenter, carpenters do use wood. Trust me. So that's my only statement on that. I'm for the project, and I hate the fact that we have all the traffic up there, but I'm trusting you that what we're doing up there is going to help, because what we've done on my off ramps have helped. Where I utilize the freeway, it really has helped. I mean, it works. It works. So if you can achieve that goal, because that's what our community needs, then I'm okay with this. So at that, we've got a resolution, and I'm going to need a motion.
I'm going to go ahead and make the motion, just so you know. I'm going to make it clean. I'm not, in my motion, I'm not asking for a change of color, change of anything, and including, I'm going to leave the 3 pine trees that staff has asked to remain up. So it's just a straight thing. There's no modification to this by my motion. So I move by resolution number 2756 that we adopt a mitigated negative declaration for the Carpenters Union Training Facility at 2210 North Presker Lane.
Do I hear a second? I would second that. Do we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Dickerson?
Aye.
Chair Seifert?
Aye.
Commissioner Hernandez?
No.
I move that by resolution number 2757, we recommend that the City Council approve the general plan use map amendment and zone change GPZ 2018-002 of the Carpenters Union Training Facility at 2210 North Presker Lane.
I would second that. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Dickerson?
Aye.
Chair Seifert?
Aye.
Commissioner Hernandez?
No, because I believe that we don't meet the findings D. The proposed project will have no adverse effect on the abutting property.
I move that by resolution number 2758, we approve the tentative parcel map TR 2018-0001 for the Carpenters Union Training Facility at 2210 North Presker Lane.
I'd second that. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Dickerson?
Aye.
Chair Seifert?
Aye.
Commissioner Hernandez?
No.
And finally, I move that by motion, we do a conditionally approved plan development permit at PD 2018-0010, effective once City Council approves GPZ 2018-0002 at the project satisfies all required appeal periods.
I second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Okay, we're not done. Oral reports from Planning Commission and staff. Commissioners?
Nope.
I did not win Mega Millions.
What? Let it roll over for yourself to win.
I just didn't win.
You just didn't win?
I just didn't win. Staff?
We will see the commission tomorrow for a study session. We will not see you on November 7th. However, we will be back for November 21st.
Oh, yeah.
And will the other two commissioners be at the study session, or is it just going to be?
Not both of them, but I believe Commissioner White O'Neill will be there.
Thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned.